what it do is cute with Vision Eye View TV. I don't know if you guys can hear me. So whoever is all here, please let me know in the live chat if you can hear me. That way I know to like proceed and continue moving forward. Um, I literally just a few minutes ago finally kind of like took the leap and kind of like push and took where I didn't have anything and actually ended up paying for the StreamYard service. So hopefully that wasn't a mistake, and hopefully moving forward I can actually keep using its services without it biting me in the butt. So the only way that can actually happen is obviously with your guys' support. So yeah, moving forward, I would highly appreciate. It's not. I'm not asking for it. I'm not, expecting. But I do or would appreciate for just a tiny bit of help. Only because at the moment, things are not as simple as they were some time ago. So yeah, every little bit helps. But anyways, yeah, like I said, if anyone is here, even if you have me in the background or whatever, just let me know in the live chat with a hello, a hi, any type of comment helps, just to make sure that I don't feel completely lonely here. Because sometimes, I mean, I know it's been a while, and I know it's gonna take some time, a very long time, to get back into the complete groove of things, right? But that doesn't mean that starting back up, I have to feel completely lonely, right? Yes, that's what Christ is King. Christ is King. And yeah, I mean, obviously, I've made it very, very clear with the background that I'm sharing. I would say what page it's from, but honestly, let me see. It's from National City. I don't know. It's an image that I just kind of looked up and put on here. So I hope no one takes offense for me, sharing or borrowing their image. Community remix. God bless. By the way, guys, I know it's been a long time, but as I always used to say, right back when I was doing this regularly on a day-to-day basis, which hopefully we can get back to that, right? Hopefully. And like I said, the only way that's going to happen is with your your guys' support, right? So yes, thank you for listening. I appreciate that. Yeah, but what I was going to say was, like I used to say back in the day when I used to do this regularly, is blessings and love to every single one of you guys. I really do hope and pray that you guys are having an amazing, beautiful, blessed day today. Um, oh yeah, that would be offended. Yeah, yeah, true that. But yeah, I have semi exciting news. Semi, and the reason I say semi is because I this is me starting things back up, and technically whatever I do moving forward, whether it be today, tomorrow, throughout the week, would still be considered me dipping my toes back into this, right? And you would think that it would be easy for me to kind of like get back into the groove and get back into the motion of things. But especially with everything that I've been through, and a lot that I've put others through, right? Um, it has not been that simple. However, right? I'm finally in that moment and place in time where I am like trying my very best to like push myself and kind of like set my emotions and my thoughts and all that to the side, and just kind of like not completely ignore it, because we can never completely ignore how we feel, right? Or what crosses our mind. We're not in control of that sometimes, right? But I'm trying my very best to set those things to the side while I do these streams, right? Um, yeah, so that hopefully will allow me to kind of like, um, kind of like, I don't want to say speed things up in the sense of like getting back into this and getting back to where I was on here a couple years back. But hopefully it will help in the sense of like, you know, um, kind of like pushing me to be more consistent at the very least, right? Even if I don't feel like it, even if I don't, um, have like any actual motivation to be consistent again. I do. I'm a huge believer in discipline, right? And I'm a huge believer in doing what you're passionate about, right? Doing what you love, what you enjoy. And for now, as hearts are liars, don't listen to that. For now, with everything going on, I think potentially the only days that I might be able to get on here like freely and kind of like be on here with you guys for like a long time or a few hours or whatever might be Saturdays and Sundays. Um, and throughout the week, we'll see what happens. If I do find a good moment to get back on a live, then I will. If not, then I'll do my very best to at the very least have some type of like video, like recorded content, and just kind of like get myself back into the algorithm little by little, right? But yeah, a few things that I do want to inform you guys or update you guys about, because I haven't been really on social media in a very long time. Like I tried to get back on it a few months ago, um, and it's really tough because when you see a certain someone and on those different platforms, um, it's kind of hard to do anything really. It really it's upsetting. It's depressing. It's sad. And so the only place I've actually been active on has been TikTok, and that's been the only platform that I've been able to, be somewhat consistent on. And some of you might say, oh, like why TikTok? You know, well, sadly, sadly, it's easier to get traction and a new following on TikTok than it is in a lot of other platforms. So I've been trying to use that to my advantage, and I've been trying to, at the very least, be consistent on that platform, and it's worked out pretty well. I do have currently like 3,700 something like followers on there. I'm trying to shoot to get to like 5,000 by the end of like this next month. If we could get more beyond that and try to like cross them over to over here, that would be great. That would be amazing. I'm not counting on it because not every following that you get on other platforms will cross over, because if they already feel like comfortable on a platform, they probably won't see a reason to cross over to another one, right? That's usually how it goes. Like if you're comfortable on TikTok just scrolling through or whatever, then it's like very minimal of a chance for you to be like, oh, yeah, let me follow this person on all the platforms. It's highly unlikely. But if there's a small chance for it, then that's what I'm trying to do. Even if it's bare minimum, even if I could get like 10, 20, 50 of those followers to cross over here, I think that would make a huge impact on the channel, right? So, but yeah, that's one of the updates, growing on TikTok little by little, and just trying to do little things here and there. Now, I will say on TikTok, there's a lot of mixed content, so it's not as straightforward as it is over here. Over here is kind of like more direct topics, right? So we'll touch on like music industry topics, like what happened recently with Kanye and his daughter and all that stuff, right? Um, and just more consistent worldly news topics. Sometimes we talk about politics. I for one, I really don't like talking about politics, because I don't really believe in politics like that. I really am somewhat black pilled, as Alex used to say. As far as like me feeling that they're all in on it together, right? So if I think that way, there's really no point on talking about it like that, right? If that's my mindset. So I try not to touch politics like that. But every now and then we'll cross, over to topics that have to do with politics, like with the current war, right? All these like threats back and forth with Trump and all these other people. So, which I don't mind talking about it, because whether it's controlled and orchestrated, it's still happening regardless, right? So, I guess as far as that goes, I don't mind talking about it, but usually we touch, like lighter topics within the music industry or entertainment industry. Um, every now and then, if Brother Red is on here and he'll bring up stuff about like gaming and like games coming out and stuff like that. Or I know he's been wanting to like have me review The Chosen, and so I think moving forward, I would love to actually get on that with him and have a good, healthy conversation about The Chosen. Which, by the way, I'm gonna look it up later, but I think it's one of the most viewed TV shows of our time currently, and that's something worth exploring, because it's a great thing, because it's a great platform for people to like come to know Christ, right? Come to know Jesus, come to know God, and faith and Christianity and all that. And so, it's a great gateway for people to kind of like come to that realization, right? Without it feeling like someone is preaching to them, which people hate. Um, it's not necessarily something bad, but people will feel some type of way when they feel like something is being preached to them. So The Chosen does a great thing to where it does technically preach and provide an insight on Christianity and on Jesus and all that, without it feeling like it is a preaching or a sermon or whatever. Um, One of the other updates that I want to let you guys know is I literally just came off of a 1 week fast. And I'm not saying that to like brag or nothing like that, because believe me, it's not something that that I find brag worthy, because it was good. It was great. And I saw how it helped me in a lot of things, in a lot of areas of my life. And so moving forward, do I do look forward to making it a regular habit on a monthly or semi-monthly basis throughout the year. Just because I've always believed in the power of prayer and the power of fasting, right? Um, and I've always heard God doing great things when you fast, and when you put God first in your fast, and you do it the right way. And when I say the right way, I just mean it's not just a dietary thing. It's like, yes, you are giving up like food throughout whatever time you're doing it, but in exchange for giving up food, you're giving more of your time and attention to God, and more time and attention to the scriptures and prayer, and just seeking God's face continuously, right? So when you do it like that, yes, I'm a huge believer that you will see God's hand in your life in many different ways that you probably wouldn't see it on a regular day-to-day basis without doing it, right? And so, I by the way, y'all, I mean, I'm sure y'all can hear me, but just let me know in the live chat if I sound clear, like crystal clear, and you guys can hear me, because I'm assuming that you can with the commentary that I see in the live chat. But I just want to make extra sure that you guys can hear me. And also, if you're watching and listening and you haven't commented yet, just because I see there's more people on here right now. So if there's anybody here who's listening or watching and you haven't dropped a comment yet, just a quick hi, hello, God bless. Whatever you feel like dropping in the live chat, I'll appreciate it, just to know who all is here. But anyways, yeah, I saw and experienced God move in my life and day to day, in a lot of different ways, while I was doing the fast. And it was a strictly, like, close to just only water fast. I did have my fair share of peanuts along with the water, but that wasn't until like day 3 or 4 that I added the peanuts within the fast. And then of course I did have a because I work outside and my job is a very physical job, at the moment. I did also include like a supplemental, well, I guess you could call it technically like a, almost as if it were like a meal replacement type of shake, right? But it would be like once a day, and it would be at the midpoint of the day. So literally just something to sustain my actual body enough to get me through the rest of the day. But for the most part, like 90% of the rest of it was just straight up water, and or like peanuts. So yeah, I quickly saw how God was helping me through a lot of my struggles. He was helping me with strengthening my discipline, which I'm a huge believer in discipline. I'm a huge believer in, being able to master yourself, being able to master your thoughts, master your cravings, temptation, all that stuff. I'm a huge believer in all that. So during the fast, it elevated and it heightened my mindset and my willpower of pretty much abstaining from, it was easier for me to abstain from like my usual temptations or my usual desires, right? Like carnal desires. um yeah, Islam is from Satan. Changed my mind. It is, and a lot of people will get offended by that, but it's the truth. What's crazy, this is me switching topics, out of nowhere now, but what's crazy is I'll tell people, and this might be a topic that some of you might be into, but so for example, this topic on like aliens, right? And ETs and UFOs and alien abductions, etc., right? I've always come across a lot of like studies and testimonies and like witnesses and studies and just pretty much anything to do with the whole like alien abduction topic. And I always come across the most amazing, beautiful thing in the sense of like, there's people who, when they testify that they've gone through those experiences, right? And they're held captive by these aliens, right? And they're being like performed like surgery on, or whatever the case may be, right? And the one thing that always has set some of these people free, and then some of them aren't even believers or Christians, but a lot of them who come out of it by this one method that I'm going to say right now, is they convert, right? They convert to Christianity almost from the jump, because what's found is that when these abductees, right, are held captive and they're being experimented on it and being tortured or whatever, right? And sometimes they can't even verbally like speak, right? But they can speak in their mind. They through while they're going through all the pain and all this suffering and all that, they try to cry out for like help. They try to like cry out for some type of freedom or whatever, right? And the torture continues until they mention like Jesus Christ, or Yahweh or Jehovah or something along those lines, right? But mainly Jesus Christ, and they think, you know, Jesus Christ, like help me, Jesus Christ, like free me, or Jesus Christ, set me free from this, or save me from this, and it isn't until they either think that or are able to somehow like verbally express it that these aliens, they set them free. But and yet there's been other occasions, right, where these people will think like other like deities or whatever, oh, like Allah or Buddha or whatever, and yet they'll continue to get tortured. It isn't until they actually express needing help from Jesus Christ that they aren't set free. You know what I mean? So I find it very compelling and very powerful, the fact that they aren't set free until they're able to utter that phrase, or something along those lines, again, whether it be in their thoughts or just verbally like express it, like help me Jesus Christ, or save me Jesus Christ, or set me free Jesus Christ, right? And once they express that in any way shape or form, these aliens, they kind of like, they tremble, right? They become afraid, and they let the person go. They let the person like free, right? And many times over, these people who get freed through that expression of asking God or Jesus Christ for like help, or for Jesus Christ to free them, whether or not they were believers or Christians before that moment, it is like a guaranteed fact that from that point forward, they do convert to Christ if they weren't all already believers or Christians, right? And I think for me that's, I mean, I know that that might not be enough proof or evidence for a lot of people, right? People might say, "Oh, that's a coincidence," or "That's just like a fluke," or whatever they want to say. But it's happened way too many times, and there's way too many accounts and testimonies about people who have gone through that and testify that that's been the outcome. For it to be coincidence, in my opinion, there's a certain number or amount of times that you can claim it to be coincidence, but after a certain amount of times, it's like maybe not, you know? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the thing. That's the thing is, and this is something else. This is another topic, right? Um, People who were involved in the New Age, right? That dealt with like spirit guides, or masters, or some type of like weird deities, right? It's another thing altogether, where they will admit and testify that whenever they would bring up Jesus Christ or the gospel or Jehovah or Yahweh to some of their spirit guides, like they would see their spirit guide, like their demeanor, it would change. They would get angry. They would get upset. They would, oh, don't mention Jesus Christ or whatever. You don't need to look into it. You don't need to, he's another like great teacher, but nothing more. Stop asking me about Jesus Christ, or stop mentioning Jesus Christ. And so a lot of people who um, kept like digging deep and looking into it, they found that these spirit guides, right, were afraid, or would get angered or upset with the mentionings of Jesus Christ. But they would mention other deities, or other lowercase gods, like Buddha or Allah or whatever, and the spirit guides, they would be like at peace and like happy, like, oh yes, like Allah was a great, blah blah blah, and they don't have any problems with the other, you know gods or deities. Yet the people would mention Jesus Christ or something, and they would get immediately upset and immediately like offended. And these are the things that people need to know, and these are the things and testimonies that people need to like come across and like read and look into, because it's like, why are aliens afraid of Jesus, right? Why are spirit guides afraid of Jesus? Why, all these things that claim to, have some type of like power and authority, right? Whether it be in the supernatural or whatever the case may be, they all have a problem with Jesus Christ. They all have a problem with God Almighty, right? The Lord of Hosts. And I think, if I were not a believer, and if I were not a Christian, and I would come across some of those testimonies, it would spark curiosity in me. It would spark some type of like interest in like, well, why is it? Why is it that that's the case? That all these different deities have a problem with Jesus Christ. I don't get it. Yet collectively, them as a collective of lowercase gods, they don't have a problem with each other, right? They don't have a problem with someone who believes in Buddha to convert into another religion or vice versa. Um, None of them have an issue with that. They all have an issue with someone trying to cross over from those beliefs and looking into like Jesus Christ, and looking into the gospel, and looking into the cross, and looking into the word of God, the Bible. And there's, again, if I were not a believer and if I were not a Christian and I would see all that, I gotta go off common sense. There's a common denominator when it comes to, why does this keep happening the way it is? Like, why do all these other deities or spirit guides have an issue with this? You know what I mean? Why do aliens tremble and get afraid at the name of or uttering of the word or name of Jesus Christ? And I don't know. I find it fascinating, and I think it's just a small portion of the power and the might of the name of Jesus Christ. And we've been told this like in Scripture, how at the name of Jesus Christ, demons tremble, right? Hell trembles. But here's the thing. It's not just calling out his name. It's believing in his name, believing the fact that Jesus Christ is alive and beyond well at the right hand of the Father right now. He is not imaginary. He's not, you know what I'm saying? He's not a thought. He's not a fantasy. No, Jesus Christ was born, right? Born of a virgin, live a human life to show us, that if he could do certain things, put himself in a position of being a normal, regular, common human being along with us, right? And humbled himself to the point where he became one of us to show us the way, right? Did miracles, healed people, resurrected the dead, right? And then died in our place, right? Without really having to, well, he had to, to fulfill prophecy, but it was not justified in the sense that, he did die wrongfully. You know what I'm saying? He died, he was murdered wrongfully. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And a lot of people, they this is something that a lot of people have to go through in order for them to get that little push to look into it. And that's fair, it's a fair reason. It's understandable. Sometimes that's what it takes. Sometimes it takes world catastrophes or disasters or just so many things going wrong in the world to give a person that little bit of a bumper push to, like, you know what, let me look into this Bible that people keep bringing up and talking about and see if any of it makes sense, right? But and I'm glad you did, bro. And you know what, every time I see you on here, it's a reminder that this channel is not in vain. This channel, to me, and this is why I'm trying to get back in on here and be more consistent, and hopefully God willing, stay on here. I really pray and hope to God that that I don't allow the lack of support to kind of like demotivate me from getting on. I hope that the lack of support that this channel will have for a while isn't a factor of me getting on here, right, on a more consistent basis. And I hope and pray to God that the same way that God used, this channel, my voice, and the conversations that we have here to reach people like you, right? Hopefully reach a bunch of other people, But every time I see your name on here, it's a huge, like, it brings me peace. It brings me joy, right? It gives me like hope, and it brings peace. And it's a gentle reminder, like, hey, all the hours and the days and weeks and months that you had put into this, there's fruit. There's fruit from your labor. That is a reminder that it's not in vain. So, like, I really do appreciate every time you get on here, bro. Like, and I mean that. I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here. Thank you for always like supporting the channel. Thank you for always. I know you probably send me things like on Instagram and stuff like that. Like I said earlier, I haven't been getting on Instagram or any social media platform really, for the most part, for in a matter of like months. But I know from time to time you send me stuff, and I do appreciate it. Don't ever think that if I don't open a message up, or whatever the case may be, don't take it personal. Um, I have been isolating myself for months and for years at this point. Um, and so I hope you never take it personal. I hope no one here takes anything personal. If and when I don't, open the message or don't respond right away or whatever, it's not. I don't want to sound cliche. It's not you guys. It's literally me. It's been me this entire time. Just kind of like wanted to take time for myself and try to heal and all that. But nevertheless, I do appreciate everything you guys do for the channel and myself. And I'm grateful. I'm beyond grateful for like people like Dead Twist and everyone who sends me like content to review and all that. I'm gonna try my very best moving forward to actually, bring in some of those things that you guys send me and talk about them, right? And give my commentary and opinion on them. Especially, like from the Dead Twist. He's one of the few that was or is consistent with like sending me stuff. It's like, hey, look at this or check this out. And I think moving forward, I'm gonna try to do my very best to actually, use that stuff that you guys send me and want me to like review and do commentary on. Interesting. Oh, okay. That's what I was gonna get to. And I think I kind of like lightly touched on it a few minutes ago. But so it's not just about mentioning Jesus Christ. It's about truly believing, like, because there's a difference. There's a difference when you're not filled in the Spirit, right? When you're not filled with the Holy Ghost and you're just uttering Jesus' name, yeah, the chances are you're probably not going to get freed from the clutches, right, of aliens or demonic forces. Why? Because you don't really, truly, genuinely believe, right? That calling out to the Father or calling out to Jesus, it'll only work when you're a true believer, when you are filled with the Spirit, you truly believe, right? And your heart, mind, and soul are genuinely in Christ. Because you know what I mean? There's people out there that would just utter any name that crosses their mind. Like, oh, Allah or so and so. Oh, Jesus, help me. But if they don't really truly believe in Jesus, right, and they don't really believe and have that faith and have that connection with our Heavenly Father, it's kind of like an unknown person calling out, you know? And it's like, well, I mean, I don't even like know you like that. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, God knows everybody, but it's an equivalent to if someone were to like call out to someone who they're a stranger to, right? If a stranger called out to you, right, for help, realistically, especially in today's world, you would be hesitant to like help that person. You know what I mean? Versus if it's a brother of yours, a sister of yours, a cousin, a mother, a father, an aunt, uncle, if any of those people were to call out help to you, you know them, you have a deep rooted connection with that person. So you're going to jump out of your seat and help them right away, right? Versus a stranger that might want to cause you harm. Oh, watch out for the Freemasons too. They're everywhere. Yeah. I mean, listen. I've been seeing the patterns and symbols since 2007. Yeah, 2007, 2008. I think that's around the time the first time I went to college, and I think I told everybody the story before, but just very briefly. Yeah, 2007, 2008. I was in college, and I came across a website called The Vigilant Citizen, and that opened my eyes to everything in the music videos, the hip hop, rap, pop music, music videos. You know, Katy Perry and Lady Gaga and all these other people at the time that were blowing up and had Freemasonry symbols everywhere, and you know, checkered pattern floors and all these things, right? And from that point up until now, it's only been so consistent that it's just baffling how people like, yeah, witchcraft music, basically, yeah, essentially is what it is. But it's funny to me that it's been so consistent. And even before that, even before I found out about all of that, you know, you had like rock music, you had like certain types of like death metal music or whatever, right? Where they had all these symbols and all these things, and people still chose to kind of like give it like a blind eye, you know, turn a blind eye to it, and oh, that's just for shock value or whatever, right? No, bro. They've been telling everybody what they were up to and believed in way back then, and even before all that, even before all the hardcore like rock music, there was little hints and hints and symbols throughout the time of like music and entertainment up until now, and it just has become more and more prevalent and more noticeable and more in your face ever since. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, even someone as or a group as innocent as like Beach Boys, yeah, even they had symbolism in there. Um, which I appreciate, bro. I appreciate that. God's word never returns void. That's why I do my little part with tracks. Not ready to go with any street yet. Hey, man, listen. No matter how small of a thing you think you're doing for the gospel, believe you me that it's God sees that and he honors that and he rewards it. You know, especially if I'm sure at this point you're not afraid to like, you know, give people tracks, right? But even if you were a little hesitant to give those tracks out, and you're scared and you're nervous and you're kind of like it's still like weird, but you push through it and you still do it and you give people those tracks, God honors that. God rewards that because you're pushing through your fears, you're conquering that feeling of uncomfortableness, right? That feeling of this is like strange and new to me or whatever, but I still want to like tell people about Christ. God sees that. God sees that, and he rewards it and honors it, like in ways that you'll definitely experience at some point, but sometimes you don't see it right away. But eventually, you do see God glorifying Himself in your life, rewarding those actions of faith, right? Those actions of you pushing yourself beyond your comfort, right? Stepping out of your comfort zone and saying, like, no matter how weird I feel about this, um, I want people to come to know Christ the same way I come to know Christ and come to the gospel, right? Um, and God He just honors it, So don't ever think that what you're doing is like small. Don't ever think that or feel that way. Um, exactly, exactly, yeah. Truer words that have not been said today, well, that I've seen. If I believe it, I have to try and say people. Exactly, that's exactly right. Like when you come to know the truth and you come to understand um, just how important and dire it is to. Some people bring up the example of like, oh, if I see you and on the road and I see like a bus hurling towards you, like I will like push you out the way or remove you, right? But sometimes it's not that simple because people will always argue and say, oh, but that's not how I feel, that's not how I see it, that's not what I know to be true, and I don't believe that. I don't know. People are weird. People they take life so lightly sometimes, and they'll just be like, "Oh, but it's not my belief, so it shouldn't bother you or whatever." Right? What I believe or don't believe, what I believe or don't believe is my issue, etc. Um, and it's sad because like if you could kind of like if we had the ability to like be able to snap our fingers and show people the spirit realm, right, for what it is, and people could see the spiritual warfare that happens throughout the entire day on a daily basis, right? Angels trying to protect us, angels trying to go to and come from, sending messages to us and for us. And every time we pray, right? Every time we struggle in prayer, and the angel, and this is talked about in the Bible, how yeah, exactly, all you can do is spread seeds and the soil is up to them, exactly, just like the parable of the seed, the sower, sorry. um but if we had the ability to snap our fingers and show everybody like what's truly going on behind what we can see and into the realm that we can't see, which by the way, it's crazy. It's crazy. And I try to kind of like you know, I try to tell people this in a way that might make sense, but you know, the world that we see is influenced by the world that we can't see. So whatever happens in the spirit realm, right, reflects into our realm. So in the Bible, there's a few passages that kind of talks about that, but I think one of them, it talks about how Daniel was like praying for something, and the angel that was going out, and like because Daniel was like praying, the angel sometime along the way um, was like stopped midway by like some type of like demonic force, and there was a struggle, and Daniel had to like keep praying and keep quote unquote interceding until the angel was finally able to like prevail over that demonic force and press on and get through and deliver the message, etc. Right? Um, and this is what happens with us on a larger scale on a daily basis. You know, times have changed. Like back then, you know, like not that there wasn't as much evil as there is nowadays, but I guess comparatively, like yeah, you know, there was like less of chaos than what it is like right now to a certain degree. So it was more noticeable for these things so that you could feel them a lot easier. Like nowadays, because of so many people and so many struggles that people are going through and so many personal battles that everybody's going through. And I could just imagine, you know, all the spiritual warfare between the angels and like the demons and all this and that, you know, at a bigger scale, right? I mean, so much is influence in our world because of that. And in turn, it's like vice versa. Like, yes, you know, whatever happens in the supernatural, right, in the spirit realm, does reflect and influence the physical realm, but also in turn, when we make time to pray and when we make time to seek God's face and actually devote actual legitimate genuine time to God and are persistent and consistent with our prayers and you know fasting, you know, we are able to help what's happening in the spirit realm, in the supernatural, right? Um, yeah, spirits. I don't know if you meant all of that all the way through. I think you meant like yeah, like demons being like disembodied Nephilim. I get that part. I don't know if I can say the entire thing because angels are angels, right? Because you have angels and you have fallen angels, and then you have you know spirits, and demons, and all the other stuff. But yeah, I do agree and believe also that demons are disembodied Nephilim spirits. Um, but anyways, I I have come across so many videos in the past few months that have been a blessing to me. A lot of interviews. There's a few channels that I've found over the past few months that have kind of like inspired for me to share some of the content on TikTok, which has propelled that whole like newer following that I've been having over there. But it's so I know some of you already know, like De La Fe, the channel De La Fe on YouTube, does a great job with testimonies and testimonials of like people coming from like the New Age into Christianity, people who were like witches and warlocks coming to Christ and pretty much revealing their what happens right or what used to happen when they were on the other side versus what happens when they crossed over. So De La Fe is it's a great channel for that. But then I found another channel a few months ago. Forget exactly how. I'll look it up in a second. But it's something like on the deep end with so and so, and you know they have awesome people that get interviewed by the person on the channel. Well, the it's like a team. It's like two guys that interview people who get on there. But they had people on there like Timothy Alvarino, which you know I like Timothy Alvarino and I support him to a certain extent. Um, I don't really agree with absolutely everything he brings to the table. Sometimes I'm kind of like you know like I'll keep looking into it as far like the topic goes. But he brings a lot of good information, a lot of like statistical information or observational information or you know all these other things. He's like a quote unquote like Christian Indiana Jones of our time, basically. Somewhat archaeologist, historian, and just person who explores, right? Um, really strange areas around the world, and pretty much brings the biblical implication of what he finds. Uh, yeah, yeah, exactly. And it's like, again, I love his work, and I love the fact that he brings a lot of like awesome information to the table, testimonials and all that. Um, but sometimes like he'll, I don't know, man. Like for example, like it's not that I'm every time I say this, it's not it's not that I'm a flat earther, but I'm a biblical cosmologist. So, whatever, however the Bible describes the earth and all that, that's what I believe. So if in the Bible it states certain things, right? Then I believe what the Bible says. I'll take its word for it, right? So like, um, science says, oh, the sun is older than the earth, but the Bible says that the earth is older than the sun. Science says that the earth revolves around the sun. The Bible says the sun revolves around the earth. And so many other things. So, Timothy, he's still of the school of people of thought that they think science is correct, and like, oh, the people back in like those days of like, pre-Jesus time, they didn't know. So when they asked for certain things, God understood them and he did what they asked, but not in the way that they thought. You know what I mean? I'm like, no, no, bro. Like, there's been so many moments where, like, before God doing something, he's had to correct the people who's asking for the miracles. Like, no, like, you know, try again, or say it like this, or and then they'll correct it, and then God will do the miracle, or God will do the feat, right? So, that's kind of like where I have like I have a lot of disagreements with some of the things that he says, but all in all, he still has like good information that it's awesome to hear sometimes. Anyways, I'm gonna see if I can actually share the other channel that I was talking about. Let's see if I can put it up here real quick and show you guys, because I think the interviews on this channel are amazing. And let's see. Oh man, I'm so sorry if I take. Okay, here we go. Thankfully, I had one of the places. The deep end with Taylor Welch. Okay. Um. There's so many curious and interesting topics on this channel. Um. But okay, I'm trying to find which one. Okay, I haven't seen this one, so I guess yeah. Let's put this. This one's old. This is 3 months old. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, this is gonna be a good one. So we'll play a little bit of it and do commentary here and there. But I with everything that I share with you guys, I always hope and pray that whatever I share, you guys hold it up to, filter it through the Bible, right? And crap, I shouldn't have done that. And you pray about it, You know, that's always my hope, because not everything not everything that I share is, you shouldn't take my word for it. Like that, whatever I share isn't necessarily going to be great and awesome and pure and holy all the way through, right? I've shared other channels and content on here in the past, and I've said the same thing. I'm like, you know, pray about it, pray about it. Um, don't just look into this channel just because I told you to, right? Pray about it, and arm yourself with the armor of God, right? Before watching anything, because yeah, maybe I missed something. I'm human too, right? And maybe there's certain things that I didn't see or didn't notice that might not be a good look, right? So I always tell you guys, whatever I share, don't just blindly, you know, um, take it as Bible truth right away, right? Always pray and filter it through the Bible. Yeah, exactly. Um, exactly. Even the apostles wanted churches to double check them. Yeah. Um, this guy brought a 27-foot timeline of the Bible. It's awesome. Shows all the lineage. That's awesome. That is awesome. Dang, 27-foot timeline. That is amazing. That's awesome. I love hearing it. Okay, so I haven't seen this episode yet. I haven't seen this conversation or the interview or whatever. But I read the topic and it's pretty interesting, and it's actually super important, because I heard just a little bit of what they're going to talk about, and it's true, especially in our time, like right now. The clock is ticking. The prophetic clock is ticking, and every minute, hour, day, and week that passes, we're getting closer to the rapture of the church. We're getting closer to God calling us up. We're getting closer to more important Bible prophecy to be fulfilled, and it's just the more knowledge that we gain, ironically, makes time go even faster, right? And the faster time goes, the less opportunity we have to get right with God. So, every and any little bit of information that can help us, like strengthen our spirit, strengthen our mind, right? Strengthen our hearts, and help us align ourselves with God. We have to take it serious. We have to take it as if today were the last day. That's how we have to look at this moving forward. Like any little bit of piece of information, of insight into the spirit realm, into the supernatural realm, into knowing how the enemy works, into knowing how God works, into knowing how to prepare yourself spiritually, how to condition yourself in the spirit, how to prepare yourself in the spirit, how to arm yourself with the armor of God in the spirit, how to battle, through prayer, through fasting. The more we know, even if it's just little bits and pieces of it, the more serious we have to take things, the more like we have to like take life seriously, and take all of this new knowledge more seriously, because again, the more knowledge we gain, the shorter time becomes, right? That's just Bible prophecy. Knowledge, right, will rise, and then I'm not saying it says in this order. I'm just saying, like further down the line, that passage or another passage, the days will be shortened. You know what I mean? And that's what's been happening. That's literally what's been happening. And in part, I kind of sort of like it, because the time at work seems like shorter, so that part is nice. But at the same time, I'm not really truly able to enjoy the day, because it does feel like it fades away from my fingers. I mean, sorry, slips through my fingers, at a faster rate. And I know that's a reality for most of us. Very few people have noticed it, but most people have noticed how time has slipped through our fingers a lot faster, right? But anyways, well, that's a separate verse, but I mean, I would definitely add that to the repertoire, right? Yes, the less you know, the more you're gonna make errors, the more you're gonna make mistakes, the more you're prone to failing, the more that you're prone to getting easily attacked by the enemy. So yes, I would definitely include that into what I was saying earlier. But let's check some of this out real quick, and we'll do some nice commentary along the way. All right, here we go.
If there's anything the enemy would love, he would love your mind and your mouth. But he can't get your mouth without your mind. So he goes for the mind first. There is a devil and there is a captain of the adversaries. He's got a specific anointing over the minds, over convincing people of his viewpoint, his worldview. A third of the angels fell with him, but they fell because they were convinced. What were they convinced by? By the end of a negotiation with Satan, you will find yourself in rebellion of God, thinking that you did the right thing. You can tell your mind is not exactly what it should be. Shut your mouth. Be quiet. Gratitude is the cheap shot of spiritual warfare. This is what the enemy is miscalculating. He does not understand. He cannot deal with it. There is no way for him to survive it. There's vulnerabilities inside of the schemas of the mind. When there's vulnerability, what happens is the enemy can come in with an open door. Paul's talking about in 2 Corinthians. He says, we use God's mighty weapons, not worldly weapons, to knock down the strongholds of, what does he say, demons? Principalities? No. We use these weapons to knock down the strongholds of human reasoning and to destroy false arguments. Why is he talking about human reasoning and false arguments?
It's illegal to drive without car insurance in almost every U.S. state, but there's one thing you could try pretty much any time if you want.
All right, Becky. Sorry.
Hey, before we get into this, we're talking about mental.
All right, so before I continue with the video here, so there's a book by Joyce Meyer, however her name is, Battlefield of the Mind or Battle of the Mind, something along those lines. It's a very well sold book, right? I've never read it all the way through from start to finish myself, but I remember reading bits and pieces of it back when we used to have a bookstore, right? A Christian bookstore. And it's crazy. It's crazy because yes, a lot of things, if not most things, right, that we go through or allow ourselves to go through do start in the mind. So let me just say this. The very first example, and it's not going to be the one that you guys think, because I can already see it. Like some of you guys, oh, I know this one. Put me in, coach. I know this one. No. It's not the one that you're thinking. It's further back than the example that you're thinking. The very first example of this, we actually see it in heaven. And he kind of already like briefly touched it. But the first example of, things going wrong because of impulses in the mind happened in heaven with Lucifer, right? In case you didn't know, I'm sure a lot of us in here already know. A lot of us in this channel are believers, right? But in case we have any unbelievers in here, so Lucifer, before he became like the devil, before he became the serpent of old, etc., he was God's like right-hand man as far as like the angels were to go, right? He was like that guy. Lucifer was that guy, right? And one day, a thought, just one, entered his mind. And he thought to himself, oh, I could be, I could ascend above God. I can become better and higher than God. I can rule, I can take God's position. I can usurp him. This thought of being God himself or overthrowing God, right, entered his mind, right? I will ascend above God's throne and this and that, right? That thought is the reason, for a lot of terrible things that happen afterwards. You know what I'm saying? Like it's the reason for the downfall of, like what he said, 1/3 of the angels. It's the reasoning behind what happened at the Garden of Eden. It's the reason why so many wars happen. It's the reason why mankind knows about weapons and war and killing and all these other things. That one thought that entered his mind, and he allowed, because here's the thing, there's a difference. A lot of us can have thoughts cross our mind, right? It's what we do with those thoughts and what we decide to do or not do when we have certain thoughts cross our mind that defines what then happens afterwards, right? If you have an evil thought that crosses your mind and you say, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, and you go through with it, right? It's gonna be a lot of chaos. But if that same thought crosses your mind and you say, that sounds like a dumb idea, and you just leave it alone and ignore it, hey, you're going to be at peace. 9 times out of 10, you're going to be at peace. Well, 10 times out of 10, you're going to be at peace. It's always when we resist, these thoughts, these evil thoughts that enter our mind. And we all go through it on a daily basis, at different levels, right? Like, for example, if you have trouble with sweets and you have trouble controlling eating certain things, and you shouldn't eat those things, and it crosses your mind, oh, maybe I should have that Twinkie. You know what I mean? And you're diabetic, or you have high sugar problems or whatever, and you're like, oh, maybe I should have that Twinkie. And you go through with it, you know what I'm saying? And you just keep eating away at your body versus like it crossing your mind, like, oh, maybe I should have that Twinkie. And then you're like, no, I've been having a lot of like sweets lately. Let me hold off and just control myself, maybe work out today. Maybe I do the opposite, and then maybe later on in this month or next month, reward myself with one, if any, It's always that one thought and what we do with it. But anyway, exactly. Yes. Resist the devil and he will flee. I'm also a huge believer of that. I'm a huge believer in discipline. I'm a huge believer in resisting the devil and he will flee. I'm a huge believer in us taking the time and talking to ourselves and reminding ourselves of and this is why the Bible says, of everything that is good, of everything that is just, of everything that is holy, think on these things, right? Think on these things, everything that's holy, everything that's good, everything that's just, everything that's fair, everything that's heavenly, everything that's godly. Think of these things. Why? Because when you fill your mind with God's thoughts, right? Heavenly thoughts, that's a good one too. Then you leave little to no room for the devil, right? And there's less of a need to even resist the devil. 1 second, guys. Give me 1 second, guys. I gotta do something real quick. I'll be right back. But in the meantime, I will play a little bit more of this interview. Let me just hide my face, I guess. There we go. All right, I'll be right back.
Warfare, strongholds of the minds, how to deal with specifically when things come at you and try to pollute and contort your thinking. It's a great episode. We're going to go really deep. This is going to be one of those, it's like we're going to spend a lot of time around the science, the memory bases of how a person can get control of their memory, their mind, and their progress again. But me and Jake spend the first 30 minutes because we just got back from New York City, just kind of talking about what happened, where we are. We're just in Ohana's family mode. We're just chilling out. So if you're someone who wants to just go straight to the meat and potatoes, about 30 minutes in, you can check the titles at the bottom. Just skip straight into the beginning of the episode. If you like hanging out with us, just hang out for the first 30 minutes. Love you guys.
Everyone wants to get to the high places, but if you want to go high, you first have to go deep.
What's up? Welcome back to the Deep End. What's up, bro?
What up, man?
Why are you laughing?
Because the joke I made earlier,
You're
I won't
laughing.
repeat it.
Classic Jake. You're laughing.
I'm laughing at my own jokes. I think I'm the funniest person in the world for myself. We all think we're the funniest person we know. Am I wrong?
No, we don't.
No?
I think that. No, that's a special.
I actually haven't met a lot of people that wouldn't say that about themselves.
I don't think I'm the funniest person that I've ever met.
Okay. Well, I disagree, but I know there are people objectively funnier than me. So
Okay.
there's no doubt about that in my mind.
How was New York, bro? Let's tell the people.
Yeah, if you're brand
about
new,
their stuff.
we just got back from New York, which was our second live event. It's like 500 people or something like that. It was, man, that was amazing. We had no expectations going into it, but I thought it was so crazy that Deliverance started breaking out in the middle of a podcast episode.
Is it dangerous to do it now? Well, hold on. Let's let him like take orders from the right thing. You guys are the deep end. Y'all should know this at this point. Do you want to or do you not want to? I don't care.
By a show of hands, how many of you guys in the audience want this to happen? And by a show of hands, how many of you do not? You're like, I'm terrified. I stop this now.
And then by a show of hands, how many of you are like, what is even happening?
What were you thinking? Were you just like, oh, here we go? Like, what went through your mind?
I don't ever freak out. No.
You never do.
I just texted Rob. I said, that person needs to leave. And then I texted some of the people that they were praying, and I was like, to go do your job. This is why we brought you here. And then we kept going. It was awesome.
That's great. Yeah, it was a super cool event, man. I will say the biggest takeaway for me was I don't want to
hold on. You did a phenomenal job, for the record.
Thank you.
Not many people. Okay, so people don't see you like all the time without the crushing me, like poking you and messing with you.
Sure.
Which is why people hate me, but it's my job.
Clearly not that many people hate you though.
They're like, oh, you're so mean to Jake, but they don't know like how good you actually are by yourself. Just like talking to a crowd. Me and Heather were standing next to the side. I was like literally videoing you, like taking pictures of you. I was like, that's your guy. Look at him right now. He's so good.
Oh my God.
In front of people.
That's funny.
So yeah, you did a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
It was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. The biggest thing that I got from it, this is the only thing I'll say that was like the biggest takeaway, and I was telling people throughout the event. I have been to so many conferences, and in business ones included, not just church ones. But you know how you'll go to a lot of conferences and you're like there for one speaker, or you're there for, and it's kind of like, I got that one moment. This event was not like that. And it wasn't even because I was a part of it. It was literally, I could feel it the whole time in my body that I was like, every part of the event was essential. But the funny part is that there were some Gen Z people that came up to me after the show and they said, you know, the craziest part of this whole thing? I said, what? They said, you guys didn't have any lights, production, and you didn't have music till the end, but God's presence was there the entire time. They're like, we don't usually see that anywhere but our own prayer closet. And I told them, and I said, the best place that you're going to find God's presence sometimes is in your prayer closet. It's going to be better than anything you can get here. And they went, yes. And I was like, but the fact that you could feel God with nothing but just his actual manifest presence in the room, that is what we need everywhere.
Technically, though, we had lights, or else we wouldn't have been able to see.
Lighting as in we had lighting, but we didn't have flashing lights or all sorts of like hype reels. We didn't have anything. And it's not like, oh, holier than thou. I was just like, it was really simple.
Yeah.
It was simple, and God literally was there the entire time. There wasn't one part of the event that I was like, man, we should have completely redone that. God was there the whole time.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
It was great. Are you going to release the episodes, or?
I don't know. I think we're going to have to kind of figure out if we can put them out, or if we need to just, maybe if you want to have a really sure way to get the episode, you should probably sign up for our text list. I'll put the number on the screen here in a second. But yeah, if people want to see the episodes for sure, like a better chance they should sign up for the text list. We're still figuring that out. So
great pitch, man. This is a beautiful CTA right there.
Learned it from the best.
This will be a call to action.
Can I ask a couple things? I don't normally come with an agenda for the beginning of an episode, and I can't wait to get into your stuff. But couple things. One, I felt like it'd be fun to kind of hit super quick. I have a couple questions for you, but before that, I thought it'd be fun to really quickly, like just for the vision of the show, hit like what we were. I've been talking about the past couple weeks, and what we were. Remember when I was texting you on the way from Nashville, just like how episodes have felt different and some things that were kind of changing. I was curious on your thoughts. I have some of my own, but I was curious on some of your thoughts of things that you noticed, like maybe the show was going a little bit of a different direction. It feels like we're kind of making a little bit of a correction almost from some episodes that we did. Like, what did you kind of see in macro? Because I don't know if some of our audience, sometimes people feel things, they don't say it, but I think we were kind of feeling it. And so I was curious from your perspective, what you saw with the show at a macro level and then kind of where it's going.
Yeah.
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store preloaded with 20 handpicked products that are trending all over the world, basically validated by AI from a trending product database from one of the top vendors on the planet. And the reason that we can do this completely free for you is because, well, Shopify is paying me to do it. You've probably seen me before because for the last year, Shopify has loved the AI-paired software that we built so much that they've been paying me to build people just like you, complete beginners, a completely free store. Now, again, it's free for you, right? Shopify is paying me a commission to do it. And if you don't keep your store for more than 90 days, I don't even get paid. But
Well, first and foremost, I haven't thought through.
I apologize. Sorry about that. I had to kind of like step away and help my sister do a DoorDash order. But anyways, I'm sure I missed a lot. So I think if I could have the pleasure of having Dead Twist catch me up on what I missed while I was gone, I'll appreciate it. I will highly appreciate it. I don't know if you can kind of like just catch me up like very quickly or briefly what all he said while I was gone. Might help me kind of understand where he's at right now. But anyways, you know what? I'll hit play and I'll let Dead Twist fill me in. That way we don't waste too much time.
Through like a bunch of big crazy goals for the show.
Sure.
So I think my expectations have always been that we can show up, we can talk about what God's doing, what he's teaching me, what he's teaching you.
Not the guy from Shopify. I kind of saw that part. And I immediately was like, of course, here I am, like not having any money at all to do a lot of things that I need to do to run things smoothly. And I know this stream is going to be bombarded with like ads and commercials and all this crap because I'm not paying for YouTube Premium or whatever. So it's going to happen. It's going to be annoying, but that's where I'm at right now at the moment until things return to normalcy, right? Which I don't know. I don't know if I should get into that later on the stream or talk about it or just keep it to myself. But yeah, currently, let's just say like, yeah, it's been rough. It's been really, really rough. And, unnecessarily, just kind of like just the tides turn like out of nowhere. And I'm grateful and thankful for God for still somehow finding a way to provide and to give me grace and still, barely get my family and myself like through this past month. And I don't know how we're going to do this month, but God will make a way, I guess. I mean, well, no, let me rephrase it. I know God will make a way, even though at the moment it really feels like we're hanging off a thread, but it's been rough. So definitely don't have enough for YouTube Premium and to have this go on without any ads or commercials. So it is what it is for now until things stabilize again. But here I am trying still, regardless, even with all that's going on. I'm still, trying to give my best to you guys and still trying to, still push through regardless. But anyways, okay, we're building up to it. Fair enough.
I'm very high alert against the stimulant driven, like, we have to hit numbers, we have to grow, we have to see this like pacing out. It's kind of like, have you heard those stories where like I will never forget a guy that was like in college with me. His dad caught him smoking cigarettes, and his name was Bradley. And his dad was so mad because he was like, we don't smoke cigarettes. I was like, whatever, who cares? But his dad was like, not in our family. So he made him smoke a whole pack of cigarettes.
Nice.
And my friend was like throwing up, like, well, and then he's like, he can't even smell cigarettes now. He like hates the smell of cigarettes.
Wow.
It's not a desensitization. It's like I went so far down that road, like never again.
It's an intolerance.
Yeah, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
I think that I have that same thing with, like, when you talk about ministry and God, but then all you track is the metrics. Like it's like smoking cigarettes for me. I'm like, I can't. It makes me sick. I can't do it. Now, what's funny is I'm like that in business. Like everything is a metric. Everything's a KPI. Like where are you at? But with this, it's different. Like I don't want to get caught in the, like, what we do something and then we get an outcome. Can't control it. It's just whatever God wants to do. And I think that whenever either one of us forgets that, I think we both sort of tense up and we don't operate in flow. We don't operate in the spirit. We kind of just start behaving in a way that is preventative or predictive or trying to get a certain thing.
It's funny. He mentioned something just now about, focusing on, having moments that they focus on like numbers and get kind of like worried if they don't hit certain view counts or whatever. So I think every creator goes through that, whether it be periodically or at the beginning, right? Or at some point throughout any career that has to do with like content creation, doing videos, etc. However, I think most of you who have been with me from the very beginning, from even like before, like on your boy JDQ, when I crossed over and made this channel, and to this day, it remains the same. I always said, and will forever say, whoever ends up here is because God is calling them to be here. I don't pretend to reach everybody, and I don't pretend to have, these exaggerated numbers that a lot of these like content creators have, because I'm aware that this channel might not be for everybody. It might not be one of those channels that is called to draw the masses, right? However, I'm a strong believer that whoever does end up here is for a couple of reasons, a few reasons. Like, number one, God has brought them here for whatever reason, right? And they will be blessed through this channel. So, different people, ministries, ministers are called to, minister to different types of groups of people. It's never a one person fits all type of thing. It's, I call this person to be able to minister to that crowd because he understands them, because he went through what they went through, and he's able to be, what's the word? Like they understand each other. There's a word for it, but I can't remember right now. Yep. You know, yeah, that's true. That's true. That's another reason I'm not even worried. You know, because even with like people like a Call for an Uprising, I know, yes, his channels do get like shadow banned, and they do get, you know, a lot of things happen to his channels, which is true. You know, I've been a huge supporter since day one. Yeah. However, I still believe that even when that does happen, people who need to find his channel do find his channel regardless, one way or another, whether it be word of mouth or sharing of content. You know, even when that stuff does happen to his channels, people who need to be on his channel and need to find the truth through him do find him eventually. Yeah, I used it as proof as well to come to. Yeah, and that's how a lot of people find God sometimes nowadays. But yeah, like, I guess what I was gonna get to was basically, I don't really worry about numbers. Like, would it be great to have a lot of numbers and a stronger like support and all that? Sure. As with everything that anyone ever does, that they're passionate about, that they enjoy doing, yes, it's always better when you have more support, when you have more of a stronger foundation, right? However, numbers never deter me or turn me away from like saying, you know, screw this. You know what I mean? That's never been a motivator for me. Again, is it better and great when there is fruits of your labor showing up in equivalent to numbers? Yeah, of course. That's human like thinking. Like, yeah, when you see more numbers as far as the people supporting you, yes, because that means that people are finding something through what you're saying, through your voice, through the information that you're providing, etc. Right? So that's always nice. It's always nice to like see that being equivalent to the numbers. But it's exactly, but it's not the primary focus. It's nice because it is a fruit of your labor, but it should never be the determining factor. So even if we like just reach 5,000 like subscribers on here, but those 5,000 subscribers most of them are, you know, engaging, and they're, you know, adding to the conversation and asking the serious questions and bringing insight and bringing information, then it's worth it. Like, I'd rather have 5,000 subscribers that are constantly, you know, feeding awesome, great, powerful information versus, you know, 1 million subscribers, but only like 5 interact with me or like the rest of the supporters. That'd be weird. You know, I'd rather have like a quote unquote smaller smaller support group, but most of us engaging with one another versus just a ridiculous amount and me not know anybody. You know, that's the difference between mega churches and small churches. Like, mega churches, you might know like 5 people or like, you know, 10 people at best, but you don't know anybody else in a church that has like 100,000 people, versus a small church where everybody knows each other. There's fellowship. They visit each other. You know, they care about each other more. They're able to help each other. They visit. There's stronger structure as a second family in a smaller church versus like a mega church for the most part, you know, and 9 times out of 10. But yeah, but it still does happen. So, you know, sometimes numbers, you know, do kind of like bring some type of like thought, you know.
Yeah.
And when you did that thing where you looked back at old episodes and you kind of looked through like, where were we Q1 of this year, Q2, Q3, like now we're in Q4. There was definitely a moment where it was like sort of not having as much fun doing it. And then like it'll hit you sometimes, probably you more than me at this point. It'll hit you sometimes where it's like, oh wow, this is actually big. So we have to like say the right thing and do the right thing. Whereas I tend to have the opposite effect. I'm like, screw that. Like, I'll say the wrong thing just
for fun.
just because it's fun for me.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed. Is that what you're asking about? Or
Yeah, I
you wanna go
noticed.
deeper?
Yeah, no, that was really good. I think the way I would explain it for myself is like almost succumbing to pressure, like non-existent pressure, like only external, not internal. And I could tell that on even more recent episodes, I felt internally, I felt more pressure to like make this perfect or nail the story arc. And then I'd watch our old episodes. Like I watched our biggest episodes, and we had so much fun. And I noticed that like we just weren't really like.
That's funny that he mentioned that, like, oh, like the whole like having fun and those being like the best episode. I don't know how many of you remember, but if you scroll through our videos on this channel, right, and you look for like the one that has like the most like views or whatever the case may be, you'll notice I think one of them is like the Thanksgiving episode a few years back, and it was Kiko and producer Jay and myself, but it was mostly like Kiko and me. And and for those of you who remember that episode, like we really had so many laughs that episode. So it was like such a great time. Like the topics that we talked about that day were ridiculous, like in a fun way. Like nothing was like what do you call it? Nothing was off the table, you know. Nothing was safe. We talked about a lot of different topics, and we had so many laughs from the get-go, like almost from the jump. We had such a great time, and it shows in the numbers. Like the I mean, you know, like I understand sometimes. I understand the mindset of a lot of people where they're like, oh, I just want to have fun. I just want to laugh, and I just want to have a good time or whatever. At the surface level, it's, and you know, this is my personal opinion. At the surface level, when people say that, I don't think the best of those people. I always think they're like, yo, they're like probably like low IQ or not that deep of a person, right? They're I forget how some people call them, like 504s or whatever. I forget the number. But yeah, like or they're like NPCs, right? But I kind of sort of like understand the mindset of, you know, being a part of something that brings joy to you, you know, makes you laugh. Maybe you had like a rough day and you needed something to bring happiness or joy to you, or something to bring a smile to your face. You know, when it comes to that part, I get it. I understand. Yes, we all deserve to laugh, no matter how hard we had it throughout that day, or how much bad and pain we're going through. Yes, we all deserve a moment of enjoyment, a moment of like laughter, right? As far as like that goes, I get it. Yes, we all deserve that. However, there is a huge difference between you know, needing that moment of relaxation and that moment of you know, pretty much what's the word I'm looking for? Just kind of like that breather, you know, versus always wanting that. But you can't always forever nonstop just look for like fun and laughter. Like there's got to be moments where, you know, you take a moment to like think about the important things and important topics, because if it were always just fun and laughter and you know, like no thinking about like what's going on in the world or whatever, yeah, like things would be really, really hard on you, because eventually, you know, someone's gonna bring up what's happening and you're gonna be like, what? I didn't know that was going on. And they're gonna be like, have you been living under a rock? What the heck? You know? and just so many other reasons. But it can't always be laughter. And as much as this is coming from someone who used to be a class clown, that, back in like middle school and high school, I was somewhat of a class clown and always, like loved making people laugh and all that. And for the most part, I'm a fun-loving guy. Like I'm someone who, when I'm 100% myself, I do enjoy cracking jokes and making people laugh and being goofy and all that. If you go back to like my days on like your boy JDQ, there's a lot of videos where I'm like goofy and I'm doing voices and making faces and all that. And just have this fun-loving personality, right? When I'm 100% myself, yes, that's usually how I am. However, if y'all notice, at the same time, I'm not always doing that. That's from time to time. There's a time for everything, the Bible says, right? So there's got to be a moment of realization of the important things, right? It can't be all fun and games and laughter all the time, right? Anyways, let me press play on this, and I'm gonna try to set up something.
As we didn't seem like we were having as much fun, and we also just kind of, it felt like more recently we got more comfortable with the audience that we have. And something that I felt like God was telling me a couple months ago is like, be really careful to label something big or small, because that's like, that definition is 100% up to what God thinks. Because something small, like Jesus's group of disciples, could have been considered small or big, but it might have only been 12, which looks small, but that changed the whole freaking world. And now we're still following Jesus after 12 dudes that were,
bro. God
Jesus
loves small beginnings, and he loves the season that something is founded in.
Yeah.
And there are times I think God will be like, can we just have a bit more time? Because I think it's one of his favorite silos of a story arc is like, it's just at the beginning.
Yeah.
I think he really loves those moments. And so, yeah, sometimes we look at the fruit of something and we judge it based on the fruit, and we don't judge it based on like the health of the soil. And like, it's not about the harvest this season. It's about, can it sustainably produce harvest for the next decade?
Yeah.
And what people do is they try to rush through the fruit of something, or they get a taste of it. Picture like seasons. You go through like planting, tending. Oh, great, we had a good harvest. Let's harvest it and turn around and try to harvest something again the next season. No, this violates nature. It's not how it works. And everything, you have a little bit of this up, down, up, down. And so things can breathe and they can rest, and God teaches you different things. And so not everything is always going to be like this, like making it bigger and then making it bigger and then turning around and making it bigger. And the only things in nature that actually follow that, like bigger, 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 no rest and reset: cancer, weeds, not good things. Everything else has a seasonality to it.
Ups and downs.
And there's an up and down, and there's a succumbing, and there's a
pruning and death, and so it can get bigger.
Yeah.
So it can get bigger.
Yep.
That's almost always the plan. By the way, I think you might be bumping your mic just a touch with the side.
Screw that, man. Okay. Mic stand needs to do its job.
Really quick, just so we all know where we're going, can you give me the topic, and then I have two questions before we get there.
Mental warfare. Strongholds of the minds. How to defeat this serpent of the mind and the brain.
Heck yes, dude. I'm excited to get into that. Okay, so two questions. It might get answered with one depending on how you answer, but
you showed up prepared today, man. I just want to salute you for showing up prepared.
Thank you.
It's a very different Jake. Welcome back, bro.
So I've been kind of feeling this. Nobody from the audience necessarily said this, but it's more of a thing that I'm picking up on. And it's honestly a question that I've had too. So can I give some context and then I'll ask the question?
Totally.
I have the question. I just have the context for it.
Yeah.
I think it's a beautiful thing that's happening. And I think it's safe to say Deep End in its own way has become a movement, whether for people in church or people in New Age or people coming out of witchcraft, whatever that looks like. I think there is a real lens shift on people.
People coming out of witchcraft, people going into witchcraft. Just,
coming to Jesus, man. Yep. Coming to Jesus. It sounds so stuffy right now.
You're doing great.
But I think there's a movement happening where people are like, man, I've lived my whole life under the religion and rules of living in the natural and negating the supernatural. And obviously we can sometimes overcorrect. And sometimes when we talk about content, sometimes you need to kind of overcorrect so people land somewhere in the middle. But the theme that I'm noticing from some of our audience, whether in person or online, is it's this well-intentioned thing of like, we want to live through a supernatural, spiritual lens. But just like religion, like in the name of, we don't want to have any sin in our life, we start going so crazy that we start operating in religion and telling you can't do this and you can't do that. And we don't understand what the Bible is really saying. And so what I'm seeing from people is in the attempt to live life from a spiritual lens, I think we can get caught up in like either like the far extremes of everything's a demon, or what's the thing with alcohol, or this thing with Starbucks and this thing, that, and the other. And so what I'm thinking is like, well, then who becomes the arbiter of like, who thinks too carnally and naturally about the things in the natural and just like, hey, dude, you stubbed your toe. A demon didn't trip you. You're okay. Versus who's the arbiter of, hey, man, that's too spiritual. Not everything's a demon, or it's this or that. And so I was curious from your perspective, do you see everything as spiritual, and how do you have that perspective? Like what is your, do you feel like there's just some perspective that we're missing if we're trying to live, we're trying to almost overcorrect our lives to looking through a spiritual lens?
Yeah, I almost put that on like a spectrum of personification, because if you go into like Kabbalah or like really high up Eastern Chinese medicine, or some of the scientific dualism, sometimes New Age, there's like no personification. So Satan is just energy.
Right.
There's no such thing as a real demon. There's just a bad mindset.
Right.
Or attitudes. And then people pendulum swing to the other side where everything is personified. So everything has a cause.
Yeah.
I sat in a chair and it broke. There must be a demon there.
Exactly.
There's a demon in the chair, you know, or these weird things. And what's great about scripture is it includes both. So like the original manuscript is actually a dialing in of the middle, where it's both. Like there are things that are strongholds of the mind where there is no demon. But through storytelling, we can personify it so that we understand it.
Yes.
So there's a serpent inside of a person's mind, but there's nothing in the mind talking to them. It's just a stronghold. But then also there are real serpents and real demons and real things that will speak to you. And the arbiter on it is like, you have to have a relationship with Jesus. And if you do not, you have no idea what you're doing. And you can loosely follow science, and you can loosely follow, energetics and kinesiology. It'll sort of work until it doesn't. It works until it is a real thing that shows up that wants to kill you. And then it doesn't work anymore because you don't know how to deal with that. Because the object of something being real is that it can adapt. So it's adaptive or maladaptive. It's changing. So like a principality, it's observing you. It's changing what it does based on you, how you deal with it.
Yeah, that's actually a very, very good point. So, I mean, and this is something that has been said many, many times before. I mean, we've all heard it at some point, right? That the enemy, right, the devil, has been observing mankind from the jump, from the get-go, from since Eden up until now. You know, the enemy, the devil, has been studying us this entire time, right? He's been like up close and making notes, right? This works, that doesn't, right? And at this point, I mean, all throughout history, it hasn't been only him. You know, he has his demons and principalities that do that dirty work for him at this point, right? At the very beginning, it was just mainly just him. But I mean, at this point now, his army, you know, are just taking notes off of us left and right, basically studying us like night and day, right? And it's always, this is what fascinates me and it baffles me. So more often than not, more than half the time, right, the enemy or people that are on his side always seem to be much more prepared or better prepared as far as studying their enemy, which is us, than how we do that. Like we, those of us who are in Christ, right? Nowadays, I can't say before because I'm sure it was different before, but nowadays, those of us who are in Christ, those of us who are believers or of the faith, we've gotten so comfortable in the sense that, we're currently here if you're here in the States, it's a certain way. If you're outside the States and you're in a different country, like say China or something like that, believe you me, you are hunted down and persecuted. You are, if not killed off eventually, you are tortured, you are put into jail, you are put into prison, you are persecuted. And outside the States, certain places in South America, Central America, and just different parts of the world, that it's not the States. If you're in the States, it's different. You have so much freedom still to this point to preach the gospel. You have freedom, to evangelize, go to church without the fear of being dragged out, right? You have that freedom. And so that freedom has kind of like caused us to be comfortable and feel like we don't have to be constantly preparing for like warfare, like in the spirit realm, and that's a mistake. That is a huge mistake that, we continue to have as a people of God, that mistake of like, I don't have to always be like praying. I don't have to be studying my enemy. I don't have to, be doing this or that. No, like the fact that we live day to day like that, and we're not, getting prepared with the armor of God on a daily. We're being like lazy and comfortable about it. And we say, I don't have to be ready at all times. The enemy is ready at all times, like the warlocks and witches are ready at all times. They're quote unquote praying for our demise. They're studying us, they're astral projecting left and right, peeking on people around their area, trying to curse people with witchcraft and all this other stuff. They're doing it on a daily and nightly basis. What makes us think that we don't have to prepare and constantly be, prepping and studying them? You know what I mean? And it's a really huge mistake. And we continue to make that mistake day to day. And it's ridiculous, because it's like, here we are with all the authority and the power and the might that God allows us to have through the Holy Spirit. And it's like the Holy Spirit is just chilling, like waiting to be activated through us to do certain things. You know what I mean? And it's sad. It's really sad because I've said it before and I'll say it again. There's people who have crossed over from the New Age and from being warlocks or witches, and that they've converted to Christ because they encountered certain people of God who were prepared in the spirit realm, right? Who did stay up on their prayer life, on their fasting life, and they were always gearing up in the armor of God, day to day. And, they were on the other side, they weren't able to do anything against these strong people of God because of it. And so they had no choice but to say, oh, well, dang, like their side really is more powerful. You know, God's side really is much more greater and much more powerful. So it doesn't make sense to say on the enemy side, if I can't even do anything to them, because they're, you know, like God has equipped them with so much authority, and they made the crossover, right? And to see that, and then when they made that jump and they see other people who are not as prepared or as not as you know, geared up in the spirit, they kind of like, they're dumbfounded. They're like, I don't get it. I crossed over from like the dark side to the light because I saw how much power, you know, like God gives people who follow him. And here I am, like seeing people like not praying how they should, they're not prepping in the spirit how they should, you know, and it's sad. It really is sad. It's kind of like, it's really depressing because, like, you know, you got people on the dark side, almost literally making sacrifices left and right, you know, on a nightly basis, on a weekly basis or monthly basis. And they're, in their own way, they're kind of like getting powered up in all the wrong ways, right? And they're studying us on a nightly basis, you know, noting things like, oh, you know, what works, what doesn't, like what can I shoot at that person to make them fall, to make them, you know, turn away from God? What can I do to lead them astray from their faith, right? They're doing that on a constant basis. And here we are, you know, just glued to like Netflix or whatever streaming platform you watch on a nightly basis, not even thinking about, like, did I pray today? Did I read the scripture? Did I armor up in the armor of God? You know, like, when should I fast? You know, when should I? And yet they are on the dark side, just super prepared on a constant basis. And yet here we are, you know, over here, I don't know, just not arming up enough. But anyways, I digress. Let's get back to the video.
That's real. That's something with the minds, something with like it can think and operate.
Yeah.
Versus more dead religions, it's just like energy and there's no adaptation. You know, but Christians are the worst because we personify everything, and so it's just like, it's still like I stand to my original thesis where I'm like, bro, just like Christians are really weird. They get into this mindset where everything is a personal attack, and it's not the case. It's just you didn't manage your routine well, so you don't feel very good. And you're rebuking the devil. And nobody cares about you. Like, there's no devil that cares. It's you didn't sleep. And so sometimes we have to balance out, like, what's my responsibility versus what's heaven's responsibility. And if we fail to take personal responsibility, we end up over personifying everything around us. If we take too much responsibility, then we end up practicing self-reliance with really cute spiritual language. And so they're both ditches.
Yep.
You know, on both ends of it. And the scripture tends to keep us kind of dialed into the middle.
So what do you feel like? Is that what you're saying keeps you more dialed in the middle? Is just
So to what he just said, I will say this. I have no trouble and no problem, you know, admitting to when it truly genuinely is my fault, you know, because we do have to be honest with ourselves, and we do have to, you know, be as humanly accountable as possible, right? For example, you know, if I'm someone who struggles with I don't know, a sleep disorder, or, you know, like eating like junk food and stuff, right? And yet here I am buying junk food and putting it in the pantry and putting it in the fridge and all that. And then a day passes by and I eat like 10 ding dongs in one sitting. And I'm like, curse you, Satan, you know, curse you, devil. No, like, I gotta be real and honest, and like take accountability and say that's my fault for buying that stuff and putting it into the pantry and into my kitchen and making it easily accessible. That's the truth, right? That's the truth. However, I am more also on the mindset of like, a lot of times you, and the Bible talks about this, I do the thing that I don't want to do, and the thing that I want to do, I barely do, right? Or I don't do at all, right? And so, many times we also do have to be honest and also admit when we are continuously being tempted and being what's the word? We're being weighed down, right? Like the enemy wears us down through our thoughts, through people, through people constantly attacking us in the spirit, and there's a difference. Yes. At the end of the day, it's all about what we decide to do and what actions we take, right? Yes, that is true. However, let's not be naive, or let's not be dishonest and ignore the fact that many times we wouldn't end up choosing or deciding to do certain things if we had not been weighed down for like days, weeks, months on end. You know what I mean? Like there's a point where, and I've brought this example in the past, stone and rock are harder than water, right? It's tougher than water, right? In essence. However, there's an example that in rivers and different types of like bodies of water, right? Stone and rocks, minerals crack under continuous running water, because that water over time wears those stones and rocks down, right? No matter how dense and how hard and how apparently indestructible these stones and rocks are, right, in comparison to water, the truth of the matter is that over time, if you drop water in the same exact spot on a stone or a piece of rock or mineral, it's going to crack it eventually at some point. And so we can't ignore that fact either. We can't say, oh, I have to take full, complete, accountability and responsibility because I decided to do it. Well, hold on now. Yes, at the end of the day, you did decide, but how long were you pressed on like being steered to make that decision? Days, weeks, months, years. There's people who are strong, but everybody has a tipping point. And that's something that I try to kind of like the example I try to convey many times. It's like, yes, sometimes it's our responsibility and we can't really blame the devil, but we also have to take into account that a lot of times, yes, it is technically the devil's fault, because if him or any of the people that he uses to wear us down over time to the point where we're driven to make certain decisions and take certain actions because we were worn down, then it's not entirely my fault. Yes, I did make the decision at the end of the day, but again, how long did I not stand strong until I was pushed and driven to make that decision or take that action? You know what I mean? Like it's not so black and white as people want to make it out to be. It really is like a gray area when it comes to that. But I digress. This is my 2 cents on that.
Your Bible pretty much every day.
Yeah, bro, reading my Bible and realizing, okay, there's real stuff out there. It's to read James, and he talks about like little sin, which starts with a desire. Where does desire come from? Neurochemistry. Not the devil. But then it turns into big sin, and big sin will attack you like a full-grown lion. Oh, now we're personified. So we're going from one extreme to the other. It's giving you both extremes in one story.
Yeah.
And so we have to understand where we are in the middle. But then you read David reminding his soul that God is never, I was young and now I'm old and I've never seen the righteous forsake. Well, now he's dealing with memory. So there's no there's no personification. There's just memory context. Why did Joseph name his son Manasseh? Because he needed help to forget. And that's not a demon. He wasn't going after and rebuking a demon. God came in and specifically dealt with Joseph's memory, not a demon attacking Joseph. It was him. So the stories of the Bible give you both ends. And so when you read, it kind of tells you where you need to go. And then you learn how to pray, and you have this conversation with the Holy Spirit, and he's like, oh yeah, this happened when you were 6. What happened when I was 6? And you start having this conversation with something else that's guiding you along the way. And it's got to be just appropriate to the moment. That's a hard question to answer.
I know.
So I'm trying the best I can, but
yeah. But that's why it's called the deep end. I think part of the deep end is like, hey, you asked to go to the meat stuff.
Yeah.
You asked to go to the stuff that,
I don't know. Has that happened to anybody here? Dead Twist, let me know in the live chat, or anybody else. Has that ever happened to you guys, that you've been praying and you get some type of like revelation, from God or the Holy Spirit, where it shows you something from the past, right? And it's kind of like a mini therapy session, quote unquote, or like a psychology session where God shows you, hey, real quick, you're struggling in this area because, this happened to you at some point, like when you were 10, 9, 8, 5 years old. I don't think that's ever happened to me. I don't think I've ever had that experience where I've had that moment of like epiphany or realization of like, oh yeah, I remember that one time that this happened or whatever. Maybe that's why I'm having trouble with this and that. I don't think I've ever had that. But if anybody who's here can kind of like count or tell the time that's happened, let me know in the live chat, because that would be interesting, like to know if other people who have had that same experience. I have not, but anyways, let's get back to it.
Paul wanted to get to in the New Testament, never got to. This is why. Because you do have to deal with the basic stuff first, and then you do have to keep that in mind.
They hated him for it too.
Yeah.
They were like, oh bro, you're making this stuff up. We don't agree with you. They had the same conversations. People who are like, man, the church is more fractured than ever before. No, it ain't. It was way more fractured in Paul's time than it is now. Way more fractured and way more confused. They were trying to figure out how to have a central source of truth. At least we have that. We have the Bible. But now we have too many translations. And you got YouTubers who are like, the passion is the devil. No, it's not. You guys need to shut up. Yeah. There are different translations that speak to different elements of the story. The church right now is it's lacking depth, but it's relatively centralized. Like it's still there's not a lot of infighting amongst the church. Now, like you have these different facets that love to fight and bicker. But back then it was way worse. Yeah. In the early church days.
Yeah, I love what Francis Chan said. He's like, he was really hard on this a couple years ago at a conference he was at, and he was like, man, I made the mistake of like abandoning one part of the body of Christ because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, but I didn't ask God about it, or something similar to that story. And it's been a good reminder for me to remember, like, don't say to one part of the body, I don't need you, just because you're one part of it that you think is more important than the other. Like, you might be able to see everything, but if you can't grab anything, you're kind of screwed.
Unless you're belly fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Then you say, I don't need the belly fat.
Okay, I want us to get to the content here in a second, but second question is, this is something I'm sure, if I'm feeling this, I'm sure other people are feeling this too, but it's like on the topic of being in the deep end all the time in a season of just so much revelation. I'm sure it's a lot for you. It's definitely a lot for me. How do you stay grounded when you're getting pumped up, so full of knowledge and revelation? And like, sometimes I feel like I don't have anything to say because I'm probably wrong, because I know I'm probably missing perspective, or I don't really understand the root of it. And so it can kind of lead to almost stagnation. Like I know there's a real risk of getting knowledge and revelation. It's almost dangerous because because sometimes it's better to have the blinders on. You can't see anything and you can just kind of run straight. But when you see it all, you're like, oh my gosh, dude, if I was going to really do this the right way, I could pray 24/7, or I could just go, do this thing every day and whatever. But maybe this is something you struggle with too. I don't know. But like, do you struggle to stay grounded? Is there something you do that helps you really, really stay grounded in seasons like this where you're learning so much?
To that, I want to add something that I've always said, whether it be like at work or like different jobs that I've had or whatever. I'm teachable. I'm teachable. I'm moldable, meaning I'm aware and I'm, I don't know everything. And it's funny to me because like in the past, like I've had like conversations with like Kiko or other people that I've brought on here, my brother, my cousin, people from other channels, and I will sound like I can hold up a conversation with everyone, right? But just because of that does not necessarily mean that I'm, incredibly knowledgeable in all those areas, and I've read up on everything, and I've read tons of information on something or this and that. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with the fact that I keep myself teachable. I keep myself, conversational. I listen to people when they talk. I bounce back and forth with the information that they give. I ask questions that pertain to whatever information is given, right? But I never, not once, have, at least I hope, I've never given off the vibe that I'm like super knowledgeable and I'm this person who like knows it all or like knows a lot. No, I if anything, I'm always like, I don't know anything. Please teach me. Please, inform me about this topic. Please give me insight, give me information, give me statistics, numbers, testimonials, etc. Because again, I'm someone who enjoys being teachable. There's nothing worse than coming across someone who tries to appear as if they know it all, or as if they have this large amount of like knowledge on numerous different like topics. It's frustrating at times because it's like, okay, well, I mean, if you know so much about these topics, why not intervene and help in some of the areas where there's like trouble, there's situations, or there's necessity of someone intervening. Hey, Adi, and Nicole. I'm like looking back and forth between like the TikTok live and the YouTube live. But for those of you on TikTok, if I don't say nothing right away, it's because I'm like facing like the desktop and I can't see everything that's going on TikTok and vice versa. But I'm seeing that now. So shout out to Adi and Nicole. God bless you guys. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. And thanks for the love. Thanks for the heart. Highly appreciate it. But yeah, if it's something that I can tell anybody, is like, stay humble, stay teachable, right? Always seek knowledge from those who have knowledge, and just kind of like put it, archive it, just save it in your brain, save it in your heart. And that way you can have a conversation with almost anybody and everybody, right? But yeah, I can't stand know-it-alls. So,
and you're realizing you're wrong about so many things, and you're right about so many things at the same time.
For the first time in modern history, college student grad.
Okay.
This is probably part personality.
Okay.
I think part of it might be chalked up to personality. I go to church. My church doesn't care. Like my friends at church. I'm not always in an environment where people are like, "Oh, Taylor," you're like, right? How does God think about this? That doesn't happen. My wife has more revelation than I do. So I'm surrounded by people who, to an extent, they either don't really care that much or they're at equal levels, you know. And I think God gives you revelation according to your need for it and your capacity to use it.
So if you're learning it, it's probably because God wants you to.
Yeah, it doesn't. I say that to say, like, it doesn't feel to me like I have that much revelation. I don't think it feels. It doesn't feel that way. What I do have is I have a life that's riddled with now, because my life now is filled with like weird problems. Just.
I don't know what that means.
This is why like a year ago, like circa 2024, I'm like, no, we're not doing this, because I'm not stupid. I can sort of see like.
So I am going to fast forward into this part where it says mental warfare, just for a few minutes, and then we'll actually get into some of the other topics that I want to touch on today, because I did not notice it's going to be like 5:30 over here, and although I do plan on being here for like a few more hours. And hopefully, you know, have like other people like chime in here and there. I don't want to see this entire thing. This is 2 hours long, so I don't want to just focus on this. But I do want to like hopefully touch on some of the, you know, topics that they touch briefly on. So I fast forward, and we'll look for maybe like 10 more minutes of the video. And then I'm going to bring up some conversations and topics so that hopefully whoever's watching can participate and feel part of the stream. So that's my hope.
Out of it.
And staying in it.
Oh, okay.
Because remember, the reason that his brothers hated him was because he wasn't grounded in reality. He had no he was kind of just an arrogant little kid. So that doesn't seem like, hey man, let's get some revelation. And you will know you have revelation because the whole world will hate you and your brothers will try to kill you. That's no, that's not what. That's actually being like kind of ungrounded.
The main takeaway
looks like, you know. So like in regards to like what keeps you grounded, in some regards, like you are grounded by the reality of your problems and the reality of your mess, and God's giving you tools to deal with it and fight through it. Does that make sense?
That's really helpful, actually. Yeah, that gives me something to do. As if there's not enough crazy things going on as it is, but that's really good. If we were focused on our problems and we understood like what we need to work on, we'd naturally be so much more grounded, because we just see what God's doing in day-to-day life, and that's all we want to talk about,
and see that we need him.
Yes.
And be like, okay, I'm grounded by the fact that if God doesn't show up, this is going to get really bad for me.
Yeah, and that solves the problem that you see with a lot of people who are so spiritual that you're like, bro, do you do anything, or do you meditate?
They're just witches
24/7? It's just weird.
This is my thing with Christian witches, and like why I keep talking about it is like, if you just get revelation to use it to achieve your own ambition, you're just a warlock. You're not actually, you're not a king. You're not a steward. You're just using it. You're using revelation to get what you want, and that's not the point of revelation.
It's true. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Been there too.
Same. Oh,
I can never say I've been there.
Yeah. Wow. That's super helpful. Man, thanks for letting me go through that stuff. We are about half an hour in.
Cool. Let's do a quick trailer.
We'll do it. Yeah, you want to
do it now so I don't run out of time.
Sure. Yeah.
At the end. We were in New York City. We went to one of our buddies' churches before the event started. And he's just doing this thing where he's like, some of you guys need to go like 100%. You need to go like all the way. I was like, okay, fine. I'll go all the way. I'll write this book. That was for me. Like that was my commitment. It's like, I'm going to go all the way. I'll write the book.
Yeah.
And I've just been praying that God would protect my mind, because I don't want to live through mental warfare. I hate it, and I understand it, but I don't want any cracks in the armor. You know what I'm saying? So we go to the event. It's awesome. And Saturday morning I wake up and I know like something's wrong with me, but I don't know what it is. This is Saturday morning. So I go to a Starbucks, I'm sitting down, I see you guys. Oh, by the way, I never looked for your water bottle. Sorry.
I told Heather to tell Lindsay.
I totally forgot.
It's fine.
Well, you're about to find out why I forgot.
Oh.
So I go to Starbucks and I'm like, open up my Bible. I'm like, what's wrong? I kind of feel panicky and anxious, but for no reason. And I'm like, I'm going to pray. And all I can see as soon as I start to pray is just like the worst case things happening ever. Like getting in a car wreck, one of my kids dying. Like, and I was just kind of backed out of it. And I was like, this isn't normal. I'm not a negative pessimist person. And I kind of read my Bible and then I keep forgetting what I'm reading. I can't focus and I'm just like all over the place. So I tell my wife, I was like, hey, I think I'm either really tired or I'm going crazy. Or, and this is what it's like sometimes being trained for something. It's not like you have the third party disassociation of being like, oh yeah, I'm being trained for something. It's not what it feels like. It feels like you're going crazy and losing your mind. So the whole day was like this. And so you can see it in my biometrics charts. Just like stress is like higher Saturday than it was doing the events.
Is it because your body's trying to recover from the events?
No, it's because I'm experiencing spiritual warfare.
Okay.
Probably from the events. So I get to the airport in New York and I'm just like, God, am I going to die or something? Like, what is happening? And he was like, you're going to be fine. Just get to Nashville. You'll be good. I woke up the next morning, totally gone. And it was kind of good, but it started me thinking through like, okay, I think that I'm starting to develop the table of contents for the new book. And it started Saturday while I'm living the book. Exactly what I prayed that wouldn't happen is happening. And in the middle of it, what I couldn't see in the middle of it was like there's a piece of your brain that's sort of capturing data of what you're living through. And then you can think back on it later from a more neutral third-party standpoint. And so I went back Sunday and last night, and I was just looking through what happened to me Saturday. And I was like, I have some notes on this. Let's talk about the warfare that happens in a person's mind, because the mind is one of the most important functional tools that God has given us to be able to do our jobs on earth. And if there's anything the enemy would love, he would love your mind and your mouth. That's what he wants. But he can't get your mouth without your mind. So he goes for the mind first. If this is part of the reason the demons want hosts, they don't have the ability to really warp and control reality without a person's mouth. But they can't get to someone's mouth without their mind. And so they need the functionality of a person's mind to be able to partner and get into this dimension, because demons can't step into this dimension. Technically, they can't. Really, really high-ranking things can sometimes create an illusion, but they don't exist in the physical plane.
Sure.
They exist in the spiritual plane. And so they have to have the partnership to convert them into the physical plane.
Well, I'm just trying to reconcile an idea in my head. Classic Jake.
So I'll stop it there for now, but that is something I want everybody here to like think about. Are you allowing yourself for the enemy to use you as a host, through whatever mindset or thoughts you might have and, go through with? Or are you allowing God, through the Holy Spirit to pretty much like have you as a host and do God's bidding and God's will? That's something that I think we should take serious and actually ask ourselves on a daily basis. Like, am I allowing the enemy to use me in any way, shape, or form, any area of my life, to be like a stumbling stone to my brothers and sisters, or the people around me, my neighborhood, my family, my friends, or am I allowing God to glorify himself through me, with my mindset, my thoughts, what I follow through with when I think about certain things? I think that's something that we should continuously ask ourselves, because the thing is, if we periodically do this, I think we would save ourselves from a lot of trouble and save potentially other people from being harmed by potentially something that we are doing, whether it be consciously or subconsciously, while allowing ourselves to be used by the enemy, right? I mean, when it comes to that, I would say unconsciously, right? Or subconsciously. But so if we're able to ask ourselves and examine ourselves on a daily, we might be like helping both ourselves and our loved ones or people around us on a daily, because we don't know how many times we have a certain, like, we take certain actions based upon what mindset or thoughts we are allowing to conquer our actions, right? That's where the whole, like, becoming a stumbling stone or a stumbling block for the people around us comes into play, because we might do things and take certain actions from time to time that for us it seems normal and it seems like just organic, right? But it might cause someone else to sin or stumble, because it is in nature, something wrong, evil, bad, sinful, whatever the case might be. But if we don't take the time to examine ourselves, we will never know. We will never be aware. We will never, have that insight and saying, am I causing someone to stumble, or am I blessing someone? Am I being used by for God's glory for their lives? But anyways, I'm gonna stop the video, and we'll come back to it another day. I'll try to put like some type of I don't know, like not a screen capture. I guess I'll record the stream and just know that we left it off here. But yeah, I want to touch other topics, so I'll kind of like just put this away for now. let me change the title here. I want to ask everybody here something, but I'm going to put the title here first. All right, I'm gonna change this, and okay. I wanna do a quick debate. I don't know why it hasn't changed everywhere. I guess I gotta change it everywhere. Let's see. Just wanna make sure. Yeah, maybe I have to change it everywhere. Which that would suck, because it's like, really, primarily using YouTube, but whatever. Okay, who all is here on the YouTube side of things right now? I wanna see who all is here still, because we're about to get into a topic that I think is really serious and important. And I have my own personal opinion from my own personal experience, but I want to hear and see what you guys have to say about it. I want to, pretty much do like a count, or not a survey, but I guess in a way, yeah, like an unofficial poll or survey, which I think, let me see. I don't know if I can put that in here. Maybe, I guess through the comments I can do it. Why are? Okay. Yeah. So I really wish there was like just a few more people. I know there's a couple people in here, but I wish there was like a few more people so that this dynamic would be a lot better. But I don't know if Dead Twist is still in here or anybody else. But just I want to start with this topic, and then we'll move on to other topics progressively throughout the stream. But I wanna hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear everybody's opinions and feedback on this because um, there's a reason behind it. There's a good reason, but I want to hear what people have to say because I have my own opinion and my own feedback and from personal experience, right? Why at this very point in time, I'm personally not planning or thinking of pursuing anybody, right? I have my reasons, and I'll get to that. But so part of the reason why I want to talk about this is because so we're nearing the end times, right? We're every day that passes, we're getting closer and closer to the end times, and we are getting closer to a moment where God's people will be lifted up, right? And I think with the passing of time and the closer we get to that point, I think there is this huge disconnect between people in general, because the Bible does talk about the hearts will grow cold, right? And people will be lovers of themselves, etc., right? And I really do think and believe that it's going to happen something like this, where mankind as a whole, in general, will stop populating the earth at a larger, faster rate, and this whole movement of the combination between man and machine, and man and computer, man and AI, man and robotics. I forget, there's a word for it, but the more we have of that, the less and less people are going to be procreating. There's going to be like less marriages. There's going to be less, people just wanting kids or whatever. One of the main things that I think we as a people, I don't want to put any words in people's mouths, right? But I'm kind of positive. I'm like more than halfway positive that most of us have heard the phrase, "Oh, I don't even plan on having kids because there's no point on having kids and bringing them into this like sick world where we're not really like getting paid a decent amount to like make a living and have a decent home or house, or have a job that pays for a decent living, etc., or many other things. Oh, the sick world that has like people marrying themselves and marrying lambs and marrying their pets, right? A lot of sick stuff that's going on around the world. And there's a lot of good, like, reasonable reasons that people bring up of why they're not even considering marriage or relationships or having children, right, etc. But I think this is something that is in Bible prophecy without it being explicitly or directly phrased or written that way. I believe that this topic is in there just vaguely and spread out through some of the prophecy, right? Because again, if you're going to have the uprising of the combination of man and machine and man and robotics, and everything else going on, then yes, it would make sense that if you have people who are lovers of themselves and people whose hearts have grown cold, then you have less and less people who want a family or who want to procreate or who want children or even have that desire because of how the world is, right? So I am sadly in the party of people who, at the moment right now, I know God can do all things, and I believe in healing, through the Holy Spirit, and I believe that eventually God will heal me from what I've been going through these past 2 years, really, but more so like these last few months, and I know He will heal me eventually when the time comes. God will heal me from what I'm going through, and I hope and pray that the same thing happens with the other person, the person who I hurt. I do believe God will heal them completely as well. But at the moment, right now, currently, I am part of the people whose heart has grown cold. Right, my heart has grown cold. I have to be honest with myself, and I have to be honest with the reality that I'm going through and living. Is that yes, my heart has grown cold, and I'll give my reasons right now why at the moment I'm not going to pursue anybody, and haven't pursued anybody since what everybody that's here knows what happened, right? And I haven't pursued anyone ever since, nor do I plan to. But I'll give my reasons why, and one of the main reasons is because, and I think I've said this and talked about this before, I'm someone who I forgive easily. I forgive easily, and I think part of that reason is because growing up, as a pastor's kid, there was many times where preachers from around the world would get invited to our church, not knowing us, not knowing my father, not knowing me, and these preachers and ministers, they would have this tendency to pray over me after a service, and I can't remember what amount, but I want to say like almost like a handful of these preachers and pastors who had prayed over me throughout the years. They kept telling me this same phrase, they kept telling me, you have the heart of God within you. Like you have God's heart, and you have a pastor's heart, and at the time I really didn't know what that meant. I just thought it meant that I just cared about people. And while that is true, even to this day, I care for people and about people strongly and deeply, right? I do. And I love on people, and I always pray and hope the best for people, and I think the best of people, etc. Right? But over time, especially over the course of the past 2 or 3 years, I've also noticed that I forgive easily. I'm someone who I'm quick to forgive. I'm quick to forgive, and I'm slow to get angry over people's sins or mistakes or errors or whatever, right? And sadly, I can't expect that from everybody. That's just a gift that I have that I didn't ask for. There's gifts that, every gift that we have and is God-given, we don't ask for, right? But it's a gift from God that I didn't ask for, and it's not something that I can turn off. In the past, I've been wronged by so many people, throughout my lifetime, throughout my years. I've been cheated on. I've been treated as less of a person. I've been humiliated. I've been embarrassed. I've been just downplayed. I've gone through a lot, growing up and then through the years in my life. Yet, for the most part, again, like 9 times out of 10, I've been quick to like forgive people who have wronged me, people who have attacked me or whatever the case may be. And so I have had to learn the hard way that just because I have that gift and I'm able to do that with ease and like naturally, I can't expect that from people. Like I shouldn't expect that from people. And so when it comes to relationships and when it comes to women and females and relationships and all that, I've had to learn the hard way that no matter how forgiving I am and how easily I can think of like, sure, this happened, but hey, let's reset, restart, and rebuild and just keep moving forward. From my personal experience, sadly, that's not the way that females operate. That's not the way that females think. That's not a common train of thought. And because of that, because I've had to learn the hard way that that's not usually how females think and operate. And for whatever the reason, because there's sometimes there's good reasons of why certain females have that mindset, but it's not always the same train of thought, right? It's not always the same mindset. There's different reasons of why a lot of them think differently or are not able to forgive as easily, right? Maybe they have a traumatic past. Maybe they have already forgiven a billion times with other people and they just said, oh, enough is enough. I'm not gonna keep forgiving. These are things that are highly plausible and highly possible, right? But because of the fact that from my personal experience, for the most part, females do not tend to forgive as easily as I do, then it puts me in a position to where I have to ask myself, do I really want to put myself in a position where I know I'll be forgiving regardless, the same way God forgives us on a daily basis and his mercy is new every morning? I'm the same way. Mercy from me, especially in a relationship, especially in a relationship that I desire to actually, build into something more serious. That's my train of thought. It's like my mercy is new every morning and my forgiveness is constant, especially if and when the person that I'm with continues to show me that they truly, genuinely want to like be with me and continue with me, then that's always going to be the case. If at some point that person is unsure or insecure, if they want to be with me and stay with me and build something with me, that's different. But if the person tells me and shows me on a consistent basis that they truly do love me, they want to be with me, they want to stay with me, they want to end up with me, they want to build with me, then yes, my mercy is and will always be new every morning. My forgiveness will be continuous. You know, the moment that there's a disconnect, and the moment where they're like, I'm not sure anymore, or I don't know anymore, I don't think I do want to be with you, then that's different. That's completely different. But if your partner, you know, in my opinion, is constantly and continuously like telling you and showing you that they truly genuinely do want to be with you, and they want to end up with you, and they want to build with you, you're the person that they want to end up with, regardless of whatever happens, then in my opinion, you know, yeah, mercy and forgiveness and love, and refreshing, right, our feelings every day, and fighting for that relationship every day should be the norm. But because of personal experience, from me seeing that that's not the way that women normally think, that's not the way females usually think. Again, just from my own personal experience, I can't talk for everybody. I can't say that all women are like that. And you know, if I'm innocent, and I would never put words in people's mouths. Like I don't want to speak for the general population of women. And I know at some point females are going to see this and go, oh, I'm not like that. Nah, you good, bro. You good. I know at some point some females or women are going to hear this and they're going to be like, oh, you know, that's BS. I don't think that way. I'm forgiving. I'm, you know, this and that. And hey, you might be saying the truth, your truth. But I can only speak of what I've gone through, what I've experienced throughout time. And that's my reason of why I'm personally not going to be pursuing anybody, because if I can't get back what I give, like I give mercy and I give forgiveness and I give this mindset of like, hey, you messed up, I messed up. Do we still want to be with each other? Do we still want to end up together? Do you see yourself still wanting like a family and kids with me? Then let's work this out. That's me. That's my mindset. And if, you know, if no female can have that same mindset, then I can't be with anybody, because I'm not going to be with anybody who cannot give the same thing that I give. You know what I mean? And it sucks. It really does suck, because I have so much love, loyalty, respect, and honor to give. I have so much to give. Like when I am in a committed, formal relationship, like there's nothing I would not do for my person. There's nothing I would do for my girlfriend, you know, eventually wife. I would go through fire and rain and hurricane and tornadoes for that person. There's nothing I wouldn't do. I'll take a bullet, I'll take a missile, there's nothing I wouldn't do. You know? And it sucks, because again, it's like I'm of the mindset of like, it's a very easy concept. And again, I know there's gonna be females and women who are gonna say, oh, what happens is I got wronged so many times, and I was very forgiving for so long and so many times and so many opportunities and so much forgiveness, and I was fed up, and so I just decided to just not be as forgiving anymore. Hey, I understand that. Believe you me, I get it. I understand it. And again, that's your truth, and nobody could change that. And it's understandable. When it's like that, I get it. I understand. You have every right to have that type of like grudge and have that type of like mentality, mindset of like halting or protecting yourself or guarding your heart, mind, and peace in that way. You have your right to do that. But because coming from someone who is the complete opposite, you know, who is just continuously forgiving and continuously merciful and all that, it's a hard thing to grasp. So again, you know, if I if there's no female who is willing to meet me at that point, then there's no point. There's no point of me attempting anything with anyone ever again, period. There isn't, and it's sad, but that's my personal reason. Dead Twisted saying, toxic feminism, the voter rights. But yeah, man, I mean, that's just my personal 2 cents on the matter. I know there's going to be a bunch of opinions and feedback afterwards, as far as that goes. And, all opinions and feedback are welcome, because everybody has lived their own experience. Everybody has lived through their own isolated incidents and events, which has also shaped and formed their mindset. So, I respect everybody's feedback and opinion on the matter. I kind of wish, I don't know if it's because it's Sunday or the time that it is. It's only 6 p.m. I don't know if more people are going to show up around like 7 p.m. Okay. Anyways. But I really do hope that we can kind of like talk about this more broadly and have more people participate. But anyways. I know there's something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, that's right. Okay. Okay, let me I might have to pull up a YouTube tab for this. I'm going to show you guys a trailer of a movie that I hope to watch later tonight. Because I want to study it, and I have like an idea of how it's gonna go, just based off the trailer. But still, it's give me a second because the desktop is acting weird. And it's being slow, and it's being very, very, dumb. But hold on. I think people hate me mostly, so you should unmod me so they could come on me. Nah, I could never unmod you, bro. I mean, you're stuck with that for life. You're one of my few moderators for life, bro. I'll leave this thing up here just in case anyone wants to comment on it in the live chat. But I'm gonna share the screen real quick, because it's a movie that, like I said, I'm gonna like watch this movie tonight. And depending on how soon I am able to watch it and study it, I'll try to come back on here and give my own thoughts on it. I think it's interesting, though. It's an interesting concept. And I know there's going to be a lot of people from a certain religion who are going to be like, probably having second thoughts about doing, quote unquote evangelistic work or whatever after the fact. But all right, here we go.
Hi, good afternoon, ma'am. Are you interested in learning about our Savior, Jesus Christ? Hi. Good afternoon. Hi, are you? My name is Sister Barnes, and oh my gosh. Are you interested in learning more about the Church of Jesus Christ?
Come on in.
We can't come inside unless another woman is present.
My wife is home. Does that count?
Great.
You like pie?
Yeah.
My wife has pie in the oven.
I could tell that you are a very spiritually curious person.
I think it is good to be religious, to find your faith in a doctrine you actually believe.
Well, our work here is done.
And I will go and check on the pie.
So sweet, silent angel.
Hey, Becky.
You fit through this. You're
God
crazy.
bless you. God bless you.
We just need to go home.
I won't keep you if you wish to leave. But I want you to choose which door to go through based on your faith.
What does this have to do with us leaving?
Everything.
I think that we're being studied.
It will make your hearts beat faster. It may even make you want to die. Do not be afraid. You will witness a miracle.
So yeah, what do you guys think about that? Scary movie. I'm not gonna put the trailer for Scary Movie on here. I already saw it when it first came out, and it's yeah, it's a rough trailer. It's a funny trailer, but it has its moments where it's like, that's y'all doing too much. Y'all are doing way too much. Oh my god. But yeah, so this movie, the concept, the storyline and all that is very interesting. It takes a little bit from like other movies that are similar, kind of like don't ever like go to like inside a stranger's house, pretty much listen to the advice that your parents gave you, like don't take candy from strangers, don't go into strangers' houses, etc. And it brings it up a notch and kind of like presents that same scenario, but for like religious folk, like like religious people. And I don't know if this is gonna be just like a thriller and like, or if it's gonna be like a horror thriller. I don't know. I'd have to like look into it and see what the actual genre is. But if it's just a thriller, then I think it'd be interesting to pick it apart and study it and see. Because usually movies like this are a reflection of like reality of something that probably is already happening nowadays, right? That we're not aware of. But it is happening on a normal basis. So if that's the case, then I would love to see what is the actual, what do you call it? Like horror that potentially might be happening against religious people who, put themselves in that position of like going inside a stranger's house and all that. So I don't know. I'm gonna find out later tonight once I watch it though. So I just don't like. I like thrillers and I like psychological thrillers and all that and suspense movies. I don't like horror movies. Like anything that has like blood and gore and like stabbings and all that, I don't like, just because it desensitizes the mind with such atrocious, violent imagery that, God forbid, if and when people are exposed to real life events similar, they don't have that natural, pure human reaction to it, and they just kind of like shrug it off, like, oh, just like in that one movie, and that's not good. That's not good to have that type of like, mindset. It's one thing to be calm when certain things happen, calm and collected, but it's another thing altogether to lose your humanity to certain things. There's a thick line between the two. But yeah, hopefully once I see that later tonight, I can give my 2 cents on it. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, okay. Let's see if it pops up. I might have to look it up through something else. Ugh. I almost want to barf and puke when I see some of this sometimes, yo. Yuck. Okay, so let's get right into it, I guess. Oh, my bad. Oops. Okay. Yo, the desktop is lagging. All right. Anyways, first of all, gross. Like I don't know, when it comes to like grills, like mouth grills, like if you're gonna do it, at least have the class of like, making it like a bright white diamond color, or like a silver, white, gold. Like I don't necessarily condone it at all, but like I'm saying, like if you're gonna do it, at least try to make it look appealing, right? Don't make it look like you have like blood in your mouth or gunk, or I don't know, like just like black goo in your mouth. I mean, this is just, again, not that I condone it. Like, I obviously just don't do it at all. But hey, if you're still gonna go through with it, at least make it look somewhat appealing, if possible. This is just ugly. But anyways, let's read the article. Northwest, 12 years old. 12 years old. And I've seen the video that's circulating. She does not look 12 years old. She does not. She looks like she's already close to being of age. Okay? I'll just say that. She does not look 12 years old. But anyways, Northwest, 12 years old, follows in dad Kanye West's footsteps, inks music deal with record label Gamma. I think I saw a video by The Truth Is not too long ago talking about this situation, and he broke it down in a very satisfying way where it made sense of the whole situation with Kanye and why he had disappeared and came back, and then had this issue with like Kim and his daughter, etc., etc. And he connected the dots, and it made sense. So if y'all haven't seen that video by The Truth Is, I highly recommend it. Really good stuff. But anyways, let's read the article. So it says Northwest has officially signed a deal with an entertainment company, effectively following her rapper father into the music industry. The 12-year-old daughter of Kim Kardashian and Kanye West has signed a deal with Gamma, record label founded in 2023 by former Apple executive Larry Jackson. They have quickly amassed an impressive roster of talent, including Mariah Carey, Usher, Sexy Red, and Snoop Dogg. North has recently been in the news for potentially launching a clothing brand with the help of Kardashian. Gamma is also connected with her father, as they have worked with the Heartless singer on his upcoming 12th album, Bully, set to drop March 20th. North has, I'm not going to read the rest of it, but I guess the takeaway here that they're trying to get at, yeah, they do. They really do. It's disgusting. They're just trying to hint at or state that, hey, she's in the same record label with Kanye, which, by the way, like I said, the truth is talks about it completely and he breaks it down. But the fact that Kanye went back to a mainstream record label again just proves the fact that he was never one of us. He had never truly genuinely crossed over to our side, and he just kind of like had like a bigger plan, already like prepped and ready to go, like long before everything that happened, and it sucks, man, because it really does mess with people's heads, and it turns people off and away from like the gospel and the faith and God and Jesus. When certain artists are like controlled opposition and they bounce back and forth between like, apparently repenting and making like godly music, and then going back to what the vomit that they came from, it's like, why? Like, why are you like confusing people? And then people who had high hopes, they had converted, and we're telling people, oh, see, he's a Christian now. He's a Christian now. He's converted. He's making godly music. Then they look like fools when he does stuff like this, And then now, even worse, now his daughter is in there with him, Supposedly the very person that he was trying to protect and keep away from the industry now is part of the industry. And I will say, yeah, it is. It's an amazing channel. Exactly. Thank you. That's kind of like what I was going to get at right now is, it's sad because, listen, sometimes I don't like to talk about this because I know it's a very delicate, sensitive topic to touch on. But more than half the time, because I'm not even going to say like 9 times out of 10, even though I very easily could say that, but more than half the time, like once you're in the industry, the mainstream industry, whether it be music, television, movies, whatever the case, you have to do certain things to be part of it. It's not just the fact that you're Kanye's daughter or you're a Kardashian or whatever. Yes, that has somewhat to do with it, and it is nepotism. There is nepotism at play to a certain extent. But even with all that, you do have to do certain things, in order to like be in it and mark your place in the industry and stay there and have like a stable position within it. You have to do or allow certain things, which I'm not even gonna say or even like I'm not even gonna hint at, but you can use your imagination, from a lot of testimonies and stories from kid stars, child actors, child musicians who've talked about it. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah. But you know, you can use your imagination or not. You don't. I'm not telling you to. I'm just saying you can assume. You can assume what they potentially have already done to her. You know, to have her secure that spot within the industry. You know, alongside her father. And again, don't do it. Don't think about it. But if and when you do think about it and it does cross your mind, it's very sick. It's very sick. Like it's repulsing. It makes me, yeah, exactly. That's actually a good point. Yeah, at some point, yeah, he might be her offering, right? Eventually, at some point, moving forward. And you know, it shouldn't surprise us. Like when it happens, we shouldn't be like, what the heck? No, we should see it coming from right now, moving forward. We should keep that in the back of our minds. At some point, eventually, in the future, you know, something will happen to him, and she'll get a huge promotion. You know what I mean? That's just how the story goes. But you know, it's sad. It's sad because what Kanye is assumingly allowing to happen to her to secure this, it's very depressing. She's 12 years old, bro. 12 years old. Now, she doesn't look it, like I said, she looks a lot older than what she is, but she is 12 years old. And if we're just now getting, you know, like a news and grasp of what's going on and how she's being brought on board, we're getting the news now, but that means that it's been a while since they have been grooming her, right? Grooming her and just taking certain liberties, you know, I'll just leave it at that, for a while now. And that is disgusting. That's sad. That's depressing. And it's just like, you know, but that's how it is. That's how it is in that world. And, you know, all we can do is pray for her. And I don't know. I don't even know if at this point, yeah, definitely pray for her. But I mean, she's already like in the system, if you will. So, but yeah, so that is currently happening. Now I'm gonna bring up something else that I saw recently. Well, I haven't seen the video yet, but I do want to see what he has to say about it. Where is it? I don't know if nope, not that. Dang, sucks. I don't know if I saved it. I hope I saved it. I really hope I saved it. God. Yo, my desktop is lagging so hard, bro. So hard. It's dumb. But I'm trying my best to just ignore it and just push through. Let's see. There's a video that Powerful and Uprising recently did on like the Erica Kirk situation that happened recently, and I want to see what he had to say about it, because I've only seen a part of a video from, I guess, Drewski or whatever his name is, making fun of like Erica Kirk, and I haven't seen the entire thing though. I haven't seen, from start to finish what it all entailed. Bro, this is, I don't know where I saved it. Okay, maybe it sucks, yo. I don't know where I saved it. This is frustrating. Now I have to scroll through so much, bro. Oh, yeah. Bear with me, people. Bear with me. Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, she's definitely been through some rituals already. Oh my God, yo. What? Where did I go? Okay. No, wait a second. Hope it's this one. Okay, I found it. Here we go. Okay. These never disappoint. So, and this is from just 4 hours ago. So let's see what. Okay, found it. My bad, y'all. I know I'm taking a little bit to put this on here, but.
Vaccine misinformation on its site. And false stories from phony sites to run circles.
But not anymore, because there is an awakening happening, and you are about to become a part of it. Wake up, because this is a call for an uprising.
Tonight, the White House is showcasing a different kind of diplomatic reception, with First Lady Melania Trump welcoming an ambassador of the future.
Very soon, artificial intelligence will move from our mobile phones to humanoids that deliver utility.
The First Lady standing side by side a humanoid robot known as Figure 3 at an international summit focused on artificial intelligence's growing role in educating children.
I am grateful to be part of this historic movement to empower children with technology and education.
The American-made robot apparently completely autonomous, according to the company, meaning there are no humans controlling it. And while the technology is not perfect, one thing's clear: the robots are here to stay.
Imagine a humanoid educator named Plato. Access to the classical studies is now instantaneous. Literature, science, art, philosophy, mathematics, and history. Humanity's entire corpus of information is available in the comfort of your home. Play-Doh will provide a personalized experience, adaptive to the needs of each student. Play-Doh is always patient and always available. Predictably, our children will develop deep critical thinking and independent reasoning abilities. The AI-powered Play-Doh will boost analytics skills and problem solving and adapt in real time to a student's pace, prior knowledge, and even emotional state. The byproduct, a more well-rounded lifestyle for our children, freeing up time for being with friends, playing sports, and developing interest beyond school. A more complete person.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Gay Eye at the White House. Excuse me, AI at the White House. The continuing normalization of these AI robots, whether they're Tesla bots or brought to you from some other brand, which of course we all know these brands are fronts for the government. They sell you the technology that they are going to enslave you with because they know if they brought it to your front door, the people would rise against the government. So of course, it's the illusion that you are actually purchasing these things, allowing these things through mind control methods to be in your life. That's how we've gotten to this point with cell phones. Nobody would ever have allowed cell phones in their lives in the late 90s if the government came to your front door and said, hey, we want you to bring these portable phones around with you. Oh, and yeah, they have GPS tracking inside of it so we can follow you all the time. And oh, by the way, we're going to pass the Patriot Act so we could listen to you 24/7 and, of course, treat you as the real terrorist because you're the real threat to the United States of America if you're critically thinking and you're going against what we're trying to force on you without really forcing it. So Melania Trump comes out with the AI robot that they're trying to normalize. And of course, talks to you about what? Well, how this is the future of education, how these are going to raise your kids and teach your kids and eventually, of course, be brought.
You know, quick pause and just a quick insert of commentary here. So, yes, while every second, every minute, hour, and day that passes, AI does become smarter, right? And it, obviously, because of the information that's being put into it, yes, it does gain more knowledge, and you know, it keeps correcting a lot of things, right? So, yeah, right. Within 1 month of the first one sold, someone will marry. I think that's longer than what it actually will take. I think it'll take less than that, especially with how the world is nowadays, bro. Like, I don't, and this is part of the reason also why there's gonna be less and less of human population. You know, once this gets rolled out on a more organic, natural like level to like more people, and more people can afford them, I'm telling you know, bye human population growth. Because I mean, when you have people that are bitter, when you have people that you know, have a stone cold heart and they want nothing to do with people or the other gender, you know, you're gonna fall prey to these things. And it's gonna suck because it's gonna be easier for them to like stay that way and want to put up with the other gender's BS and not want to, you know, have a harmonious living with the other gender. They're gonna just prefer to be like, you know, the robot doesn't question me, the robot doesn't put up a fight, the robot doesn't argue with me, it doesn't, you know, care if I asked about their day or not, or if I checked in on them. And they're gonna have a lot of not necessarily valid points, but they're gonna have a lot of excuses, you know, a lot of selfish excuses to be able to say, like, I'm good. I don't need the other gender. I don't need to be with anybody. You know, if I have something that is gonna quote unquote love me unconditionally and just fill my needs, and like vice versa, right? With like no fight or no challenge, right, to be experienced. But what I was gonna say earlier was, just because AI continues to learn and correct itself and continue to gain knowledge and be better at knowing everything, doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to give false information. You know what I mean? Like, I know some of you have already like heard about this or seen it, but there's people who have already developed their own religion and their own Bibles through AI, who they have fed the AI information. And so AI in turn has created full-blown religions that people have created just based off of the information that it was given, right? So again, just because it holds a lot of knowledge does not necessarily mean it's going to point people towards the correct path. Oh yeah. So this is already becoming an issue on a small scale. But once AI continues to evolve and grow and learn and adapt, and then you add robots to it, you're gonna see a huge downslope of people wanting kids, people wanting children, families, marriages, etc. Multiple children these days. Religions of peace. I mean, I want to say that includes Christianity. But I mean, again, when you have cycles, imagine the ones. Exactly. Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. Yeah, iPad kids are cycles. Imagine the ones raised by robots. Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of sicker people on our hands moving forward, man. And it sucks. It sucks because like I'm over here. I'm a family man. I'm a family-oriented guy. There's nothing I would want more than a wife and kids, children, family. A house, a home, right? A godly home and family. But apparently that's never going to happen, because of what I said earlier. If there is no female who is willing to meet me at the same level of forgiveness and a lot of other stuff, then there's no point. Yeah, maybe. Oh yeah, true. I forgot about that. That's even worse. The fact that it did that is even worse. That people don't even have to input information and thoughts and fantasies and to be made out into a religion when AI itself on its own made it. That's scary, son. That is scary. But anyways, I think I'm gonna take a break for a few to have like a early whatever dinner, just because I'm like really hungry. But I will be back. I think like around 7:30 p.m. That was do me a huge solid and a huge favor if you can, if it's not too much to ask. How's my hands? Do me a solid and favor. If you can share the stream or the channel forward to your peeps, I don't know, friends, followers, however you want to call it. Because I don't know if I should keep this running and just eat and come back, or if I should just end it, close it out and start a new stream when I come back. I don't know. What do you think? That twist. Let me know real quick, because I'm kind of like on the fence. I don't know if I should end the stream. Start a new one when I come back. I don't know. because I don't think I'll be gone for too long. I think I can eat pretty fast and come back. So if that's the case, then I don't mind letting it run. And this is a 36-minute video, so this is actually not too bad. I can actually leave this running and come back. Yeah, I'll do that. I'm gonna leave this running for a few minutes, and then I'll just come back. I'm gonna try to eat fast. I'm not gonna, choke on my food or nothing, but I am gonna try to eat pretty quickly and come back. That way I don't have to start a brand new stream. Anyways, all right, here we go. Let's put this full screen. And that's what, I guess, if anybody shows up and I'm not here, then just let them know. I'll put a comment so they know that I'm coming back. But just if anyone asks, just let them know I'll be back. All right, here we go.
Into your home, and the conditioning continues for conservative Christians through this obviously compromised Republican Party, because both parties are compromised, working together. If you haven't figured that out yet, the oldest motto in the book is divide and conquer. So pay attention to what these guys are doing, because while they're telling you to hate one another,
okay.
they're also chumming it up with one another constantly, side by side. We've seen Obama with Trump, and then, of course, when the camera's on them alone, they criticize one another. Same thing with Biden and Trump. Same thing with guys like Chuck Schumer and Trump. They all pretend that they're enemies with one another, that they're going to impeach one another. This is all for you. That's all part of the show. Political Theater 101. So they want you to be educated by these robots. They want these things in your life eventually. They want you to even mate with these things, as I'll get into momentarily. But this is conditioning for conservatives, and the conservatives are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. We've already seen it with the electric vehicles, right? People like me have been warning Christians about the electric vehicle, but warning everybody. It doesn't matter what your belief system is about the electric vehicle, what it's really here for, how that electric vehicle is going to tie into smart cities, how it's going to tie into controlling your movements with the carbon footprint. I've warned and warned and warned. The videos are all available on the website at callfornuprising.com. But this is all part of that plan, normalizing it, getting you to accept it. I'll show you exactly how they've done this, right? So we're seeing little things. We've seen Kim Kardashian, of course. I covered this a year ago, where she was grinding, making the Tesla robot sexualized with her. She was rubbing up against. It's all part of the transhumanism, mind control, of course. She also aligns with the conservative party, believe it or not. She's an Armenian witch who pretends to be Christian, as the whole family does, even though they flat out tell you that they're witches, even, of course, putting it on their birthday cakes, like one of the Kardashians did a few years ago. Again, they get away with this stuff. They get away with this stuff because people are not critically thinking. They tell you you're on one team, then they could switch to the other team. It doesn't matter. And because you're on one team, whatever they say, you're being manipulated, whether you realize it or not. So we had Kim Kardashian grinding on a Tesla bot. We have the White House now bringing out the Tesla bot. Of course, the mind control has been there to accept this technology, to accept robots. Robots are good and loving and caring. Technology is loving and caring because technology doesn't see skin color. Technology doesn't judge. People are hurtful and hateful. That's all you hear every single day from the propaganda media. But what's your reliant friend, right? What do they want you to turn to? Your tech. They've already been conditioning kids with movies like WALL-E, right? Movies like that to get kids into their technology. Oh, it's loving and it's cute, it's adorable. Adults like us, right? How long have we been indoctrinated? There's thousands of movies I could list, but we'll name a few right here, right? Like Bicentennial Man, right? Where they even give you the all-seeing eye right on the cover. This is the other version of the poster for Bicentennial Man, by the way, with Robin Williams, where you can see the 666 very clear as day, actually. And of course, Robin Williams compromised, as I covered during his supposed suicide. You can see all these images of him doing the all-seeing eye symbolism. One of the most obvious Freemasons that there's been in Hollywood, never hid his symbolism, hidden hand, the pyramid, the all-seeing eye, the 666, constantly doing it. Other movies like Artificial Intelligence, of course, by Steven Spielberg, who's handed these scripts. We're told he's a creative director. He comes up with these great ideas. All of his films revolve around predictive programming, from E.T. to pushing things like Schindler's List on everybody out there for brainwashing purposes, of course, as we all know, which you're not allowed to discuss, of course, as we get closer to the Noahide laws. Other movies include movies like Artificial Intelligence. I mentioned Schindler's List, Minority Report, a good movie to watch if you want to see what the future looks like with biometrics. Obviously, Spielberg, James Cameron. These guys are handed scripts like Terminator. They're told to make these movies. It's all part of mind control. It's part of predictive programming. It programs you into accepting these things. And that's why we've seen all these movies about artificial intelligence and accepting it. But we've also seen the flip side, right? Where there's plenty of movies where we see the horror side of artificial intelligence, right? We've even seen it going all the way back to movies like Metropolis, where you could see transhumanism and the robot. You can even see the pentagram behind the robot. This has been going on for a long time. They've had this technology for a long time. And now people are gullible enough. They're dumb enough to believe all the propaganda that gets fed to them. And they're ready to accept this into their lives. Metropolis, of course, goes back to 1927. And they've had this technology before then. Many people believe they've had this technology going back to ancient Egypt. But if you want to even look at movies like Metropolis, it just shows you how long they've had this. And of course, the theme of that film is transhumanism, as well as talking about the recreation of the Tower of Babel, which we're seeing right now and we're going to see through AI. And from there, the other things we've seen to normalize this with AI is, you know, you got websites like CNN, which of course is nothing but fake propaganda. But remember, they got to give it to the left and the right because everybody's going to accept this because everybody's going to hate one another. As the Bible says, everyone's going to grow cold. And this is going to be what everybody turns to, right? Nobody's compatible with anyone anymore. Men and women are afraid to interact with each other anymore. They've made it so you can't even hit on a girl anymore. It's sexual harassment. It's all been deliberately done for this. Stuff like what it's like to go on a date with an AI companion in New York City. That's stuff that's airing on CNN regularly. And then you go through the stories like the New Yorker, how stories about human-robot relationships push our buttons. Will robotic romantic partners be more common than real ones by 2050, right? Programming. How AI companies are redefining human relationships in the digital age in real life. Meet the people dating AI. Why people are confessing their love for AI chatbots, right? Everybody's going insane. Of course, new Japanese dating app allows you to marry an AI bot and already has 5,000 users. People turning to their tech, they trust in their tech, and then eventually it leads to stuff like this. World's first artificial womb facility. It is a creepy glimpse of pregnancy in the future, and even everybody's favorite fake conservative, Elon Musk, the pregnancy robots that he's rolling out, in addition, of course, to the Neuralink. But pregnancy robots is the bold new plan for Elon Musk, and nobody is paying attention. They just think this stuff is cool and neat because they love their tech. So they see Melania Trump come out, and she starts, as you saw in that clip, talking about these robots teaching your children. Now, you would say that's absolutely insane 20 years ago. But in today's world, people are saying, interesting, because they've been conditioned into it. How have they been conditioned into it? Well, via sabotage, right? Let's start with the obvious, the Artificial Intelligence Governance, AI Governance Alliance. Again, the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, this is the plan. It's governance run through artificial intelligence. It's a complete control system. You don't know the man behind the curtain, but you'll be willing to accept this when you find out that all your politicians are pedophiles who are all on Epstein Island. You'll be accepting of this when you realize you've had enough of Donald Trump trying to remain in power or incompetent people like Joe Biden going into power. You'd say, you know what? I'd rather it run through regulations and rules through artificial intelligence. Of course, they'll continue to tweak it over time. Once people allow and accept this technology to control their lives and govern them, it'll start turning into, well, you can't say this, you can't say that. You say this, you're going to go to jail longer than somebody who commits rape. Oh, you thought that? Well, you're going to go to prison for thinking that. Oh, you said this about artificial intelligence? Well, you're not going to be able to get on a plane. And then when the government decides the carbon footprint is going to be installed for quote unquote climate change, well, then you won't be allowed to travel. You'll have to ration your water, your electricity. Then you'll really get upset. And of course, it'll be too late because you'll have AI governance locked in. And anything that you say online or even think at that point will be used against you and not in the court of law. So this is what we've seen from the World Economic Forum, okay? They have been talking about shaping the future of learning through artificial intelligence in education, right? Shaping the future of learning, the role of AI in education. They have articles out there. They have files out there. They have meetings out. This is one of the big topics at the World Economic Forum. It's AI governance, it's AI education, right? United Nations global education must integrate AI centered on humanity, right? See this pattern here? This is what the World Economic Forum and the UN is pushing. And this is what Melania Trump and Donald Trump are bringing out. But when they're doing this and people are suddenly getting confused, going, whoa, wait a minute, I don't know if I like this with a robot there. They're getting distracted by crazy stories about Democrats, right? Drag queens and all this other stuff because they're being programmed into accepting this. I'll show you in a second here. More AI is transforming education by allowing us to be more human. And of course, this conditioning began with COVID. Okay, because the future of education is going to be through AI and children being indoctrinated with artificial intelligence and robotics. And it's going to be frightening. And people out there who are already letting their kids on devices at a young age, well, you're not doing a great job by allowing that. But COVID, right? During COVID, that was the test run. That was a test run for social distancing. That was a test run for quarantining. It was a test run for staying curfews. It was a test run for lots of things, working from home, and of course, being educated from home, right? And of course, they still tell us, oh, COVID study shows online learning was better in some subjects, right? We saw these kids on their laptops. They told us online learning during COVID saw widespread shift. 70% of U.S. schools moved to remote formats in early 2020. 77% of public schools, 73% of private schools, right? So you say to yourself, okay, well, they showed us this with COVID. This is what we're eventually going to get back to, okay? The way that life was during COVID. It was a test run for the carbon footprint, okay? How do we get to these things? How are we going to allow robots to teach our kids? That's what you have to realize, because you're just sitting there, you're seeing that, you're like, well, Melania Trump's crazy. She doesn't know what she's talking about. No. That's what the future is. Trump's bringing in the data centers for us, for enslavement. Everything you think, say, write, every email, every picture, every time you're recorded on a camera, whether it's a telephone pole or a Walmart, all going into these data centers into your personal profile. You're going to be tracked and monitored 24/7. They're going to be able to locate you at any time. They're going to know everything you think, everything you say, and they're going to use it against you again and not in the court of law. So how do we get there? We get to that via sabotage, which is what you're seeing now. The way people will accept robots teaching their kids, well, it's real simple. You've already been getting trained for it. People like Matt Walsh, the alt-right, right, who get promoted, who go to the White House and the Senate or at presidential speeches, right, all compromised. They're not inviting these people there unless they're in on it, obviously. And what is his big shtick? Well, all this stuff like elementary school holds Pride March, right? The sabotaging of the school system. All these stories you hear about how teachers, instead of teaching, stuff that you learned, which again was all lies anyway, the whole education system should be torn down and shouldn't exist in the first place because they don't teach you anything to help you in the real world. You don't learn any trades in school. All you do is learn lies of history, and you learn it every single year because repetition is the key to mind control. So it gets beaten into your head. And then you leave the school system thinking all this stuff happened during World War II and all this stuff happened during this and all that stuff happened there. And we walked on the moon, all of it. And you believe it as reality because it's been told to you so much, you don't even need evidence to have it proven to you. It just gets told to you at a young age because your brain is a sponge and they beat it into you. Well, now all you hear about is what? These stories about, well, teachers, while they're teaching those lies, they're also mixing in trans stuff, right? Teachers holding the pride flag. Look at the stories that have been out there. This is sabotage. This is out there deliberately to get parents to want their kids raised by robots because they're saying, I don't want my kid going to some school where the teacher is going to show up wearing a pride flag with blue hair and start talking about their sex life, right? And of course, nobody would want that or should want that. We shouldn't even be talking or debating about accepting this stuff in our reality, right? But that's what we've gotten to. So people are going, I don't want my kid in the school system. What's happened to the school system? Well, school system's always been poisoned. Just nobody's paid attention to the fact that they've been lied to their whole lives. They're paying attention now because of all the sexual stuff they're bringing into school, rightfully so, because it shouldn't be there. We shouldn't be accepting it. We shouldn't allow a school board to dictate this stuff, nor the government. The people should have risen against this the second it started happening, but they didn't. So instead, they're getting frustrated. They're pulling their hair out, right? Oh, unanimously passing resolutions to encourage LGBTQ education for all schools, right? So conservatives go, I'm not going to let my kid go to a public school where this stuff is. I'm going to have to put them in a Catholic school, a Christian school, some type of school that doesn't have that type of indoctrination, and vice versa, right? Well, Democrat people or Democrats, whatever you call them, say people, humans, I don't know what they are, the way that they think, I mean, they're sheeple, obviously. They don't want their kids going to a school where the teacher's not going to talk about pride and celebrate Pride Month, right? So you get both sides completely divided on what should be taught in school, right? And then again, these are the stories that gaslit. These are the stories that got under people's skin. Seattle Public School celebrates Pride Month. We had, of course, the big one was the drag queens in the classroom, which, of course, then you find out that all these drag queens in a lot of these situations had backgrounds of being pedophiles, having been arrested for, child sex porn, all this type of stuff, right? Done by design. This is done by design by your government. Because your government actually cared. Of course, this type of insane stuff went on, but your government created these monsters for a reason. And then your government enabled these psychopaths who should be in padded rooms, who are going into schools dressing up as, as you see on the screen, right? Completely unhinged, insane people, right? That's what every human being should be saying. But of course, somehow we have Democrats who are okay with this stuff, okay with people identifying as fire hydrants, instead of just going, look, we're all human here. These people need help. Let's get them help. Okay, this stuff is not normal. Boys shouldn't be going in the women's bathroom, vice versa. These types of people who are dressing in the opposite clothing should not be going into schools talking to young children. But the mind control has worked so much. The government has created these monsters that we've actually allowed it to happen instead of rising up against it. And it's working perfectly for them because the solution, of course, is AI. Right? Another story. Florida teacher's employment in jeopardy after using students' preferred name, whatever that means. Public School says the state is reviewing the teacher's certification in line with strict anti-LGBT laws. So, of course, your conservative states, how dare you use a pronoun? Democrat states, you better use a pronoun, right? Problems in the school system, this one's probably one of the best. This is recent. Trans kindergarten teacher identifying as a wolf, fired after parents raised complaints, right? So you hear the story, you're like, of course the teacher should be fired, right? But the fact that you're believing these stories, the fact that you're not doing anything about any of this stuff and saying, well, what is making people identify as wolves? What is making people absolutely insane? Well, the media, the government, the stuff they're feeding you about people being born in the wrong body, it's all being fed to you from your government. This is MK Ultra at work, right? On every civilian. That's why they call it the American experiment. But instead, what people do is they react to these stories and they go, good, he should have been fired for identifying as a wolf. And the Democrats go, how dare you fire this man for identifying as a wolf? And the fact that we're even having the conversation is what the problem is. We have humans identifying as wolves. I mean, you walked into the Wild West in the 1700s, you're like, hey, and they're like, where are you from? You're like, I'm a wolf. Ooh. All right, you're getting one right through the eyes. Let's be real. This isn't getting put up with in other time periods, but we're a weakened society. We're a society that's afraid of government, that believes the government, controls us when they're actually supposed to serve us and work for us. So these are all the stories, right? Trans in the library, teachers identifying as wolves. Trump came in and he said, I'm going to shutter the education department. Now, we can, again, look at that and say, well, that's great because the education department's all lies and stuff, but that's not what he meant. He meant he was going to bring the education department down. He was going to defund it with Elon Musk and Doge so they can bring in AI governance education, right? The new World Economic Forum report shows how AI could transform education. And again, how AI and human teachers can collaborate to transform education. This is what it's about. This is what they've been talking about, what they want. They want AI to raise your children. That way, there's no human interaction. That means if you end up with, say, hypothetically, let's just say in a crazy world that somehow I was teaching at a school, right? I went in, I got qualified. I didn't talk like this. I just said, hey, I'm so-and-so. I'd like to be a teacher. Here's my qualifications. I got hired, right? Well, the guy, they would say, oh, he's a good guy. And then say the door's shut. And I start talking about this stuff. Oh, well, maybe somebody go home and tell their parents and blah, 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 blah.
All right. I'm gonna restart the I'm gonna restart the stream. And hopefully, as Dead Twist actually mentioned earlier, we can get some notifications out there and hopefully get more people in the stream. So I'll be right back in a few seconds. So yeah, if anyone's like Dead Twist or whoever else is here, if y'all like once the new stream comes up, if you can just share that new link or whatever, I'll appreciate it. All right. So here we go. Be right back.